So, here with the Unreasonable Man, we were just talking for a minute off. So, can you do a little, or do you want to do a little intro? Who you are, what you're about? You don't have to get too personal, but why you
Sure.
came up here today?
So a lot of people know me as Grid One Motorsports. I'm
Yeah.
infamous, I guess, in various circles, not just for supporting the Whatever podcast. I'm known further than that. Um, the Unreasonable Man podcast is something I started. I actually started the Unreasonable Man page a couple of years ago. That's my personal page, and because it's the way I see the world. And as we were just talking about, it comes from a quote from a 1904 play, Men and Supermen by George Bernard Shaw, where he posits that the reasonable man accepts the world around him for what it is, the unreasonable one forces the world around him to change to suit him, and therefore all change must come from the unreasonable man. And that's why we all must be unreasonable men, because every single thing we're spoon fed is in some form or fashion given to us as reasonable. We should always accept it because it's reasonable, no matter what our gut instincts, no matter what our brain, what logic, what rational thinking tells us.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be reasonable, and that's garbage. Anytime somebody says be reasonable, they're literally they know they're wrong. They absolutely know they're wrong, and they know you're
Yes.
right.
So it seems like we have a lot of then unreasonable people in society pushing unreasonable narratives that are all colliding at once, right? In a sense, but at the
Hmm.
same time, there's alignments that form, right? Like at this point, I think perception, reality that most men would look at feminism probably not in a good way. Like it seems like it's gotten to a point of being unreasonable if it ever was reasonable. With that said, there's a lot of different types of feminists, right? You have some that are traditional, whatever the case, doing weird stuff, pink hair. I got to get nose things, and right, you see them on the whatever, right? There's a lot of different
Yeah,
breeds and brands of unreasonable, but it's all in the guise of like, I mean, seeming like I'm the victim. So you need to do this for me. If it hurts me, then it hurts all of us. And yet there's so many different people that seem to be saying that or virtue signaling that in one way or another.
yeah, man, I go with that. And I'll add a little bit. I don't know. I don't want to steal any of your thunder upcoming, but
No, no.
the reality is that we're splintered, right? Like conservative and rational and reasonable and however you want to call yourself, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
based or non-red
Based.
pill, but not you're non-feminist or whatever. Anybody that's based in rational thinking knows that feminism's a failed effort. It has never worked for anyone, and it never will. Right? It's completely delusional. The interesting thing about feminism, I don't think a lot of people know this, is more men voted for women to vote than women did.
Mm-hmm.
That tells you right away that women really didn't want to vote. They had no interest in it, and they didn't want. And it wasn't just voting that they didn't want. They also didn't want to have
Right.
to
Yeah.
do a bunch of things and be responsible for certain things because
Right.
they're
Right.
and
Right.
women at that women were I think in a lot of ways a little smarter back then, and
Yeah. They couldn't
the
have been dumber.
the yeah,
And people in
and
general, in all fairness.
yeah, I mean we can't argue that too much. But more men voted for it because they want. Well, I mean, honestly, they just wanted women to share some of the responsibility that the
The
men
burden.
had and the burden, right? The burden. They wanted that. They wanted that. And they were like, "Hey, you want equality? We will give you equality." And
Yeah.
honestly, in my personal opinion, if you read back in history, it was kind of one of those things like we're going to give it to them, and in 5 years, this thing will fall apart, and it'll just kind of go back to normal. And
Mm. I see
that
what
was
you
a
mean.
that was a and I don't know how realistic that ever was, but
Right.
I if you just read some of the things, that's the way it is. And the feminists always come up with these really stupid examples, man. Like they go with the one I like is that women couldn't have a checking account. which
Right.
was a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie.
My grandmother
Women
had a
could.
checking account in like 1940 or something. She showed me her
Oh,
thing,
back
right?
in the 1800s. So back in the 1800s, anybody could have a checking account. Anybody. Now there
Yeah.
were some constraints. They really, and first of all, let's be clear here. It was never a law. It was never a governmental thing. It was just the bankers who said, "No, you can't have an account. No, you can't have it." And a lot of that was if you weren't a member of their community. You had to be a member of their community. Remember, this transient, people move all over the country. They're settling the West. They're going east or whatever.
Hmm.
So you're not going to give somebody a bank account that's leaving in 3 days to go to, if you're in Missouri, you're not giving someone a bank account that's going to move to Colorado next week, right? That's it,
So they were ensuring their interests. That right, it was
correct.
responsible exercising, at least in theory. I mean, in
Yeah,
some
I mean, I'm sure
basis.
that they made mistakes, but
Right.
any human could have a bank account. The difference is that because of the traditions of the time,
Hmm.
if you were a married female and you tried to open up an account in your name only, you had to get your husband's permission at most banks. Now, there were a couple of reasons for that. First of all, it's kind of suspicious, right? Back in those days, all the money for a family went into a pot,
Hmm.
right? It wasn't my money, your money like it is today, like the way people, the way couples work today is, well, this is my money, this is your money, we'll put money into a central account, we'll pay our bills with that, but this is my money, I can go do what I want, that's your money, you
Yeah.
go do what. It wasn't, I mean, I know that we have a hard time wrapping our heads around it now, but back then, if it's your family, it's your family. That's
So
it,
let me
period.
let me let me pause you real quick. So you're describing context, right? And context is
Yeah,
very important. And
absolutely.
so when we hear things like rhetoric, for instance, we're talking about feminism at the moment, but we could be talking about a lot of things. But with that said, if we're to take like women are like, well, I couldn't vote, it was elite, whatever the case. But then you look
Another
at the
lie.
right, but even if it were, if you look at the context of what was surrounding it, for instance, would you have wanted to vote if you had to join the draft, if you had been drafted? I'm just going down a rabbit hole, but for World
Sure.
War or Vietnam rather, would you have done that? Would that have been worth the trade-off? And I think most would have said, no, no, wait, I'm good. I don't need to vote. like, I'm good. But at one point,
Con-
wasn't that a very important, for your right to vote, you earned it through service, through draft, for one, right?
well, so that's actually right. Context is important. Not all men had the right to vote. To be able to vote up until about 1920, I don't know the exact date when the draft selective service went into effect, but prior to that, in order to vote, you had to nationally you had to own property.
Right. Yeah. You
So
had
if
to
you
have
were
a
a
stake.
cowboy, you had to have a stake in the country. If you were a cowboy riding the range, you didn't get to vote. That doesn't make you less of a man.
Right.
It just means that you're a wanderer. You don't get
Mm-hmm.
a say.
Right.
So in 1877, a woman was elected mayor in Kansas,
Mm-hmm.
in a town in Kansas. So this whole garbage
Narrative.
that they spew out,
Right.
this whole narrative that they spew out is very carefully selected to really only entertains people that are just too stupid to actually look into it,
Right.
or,
Yeah.
or,
And
or have any basis in history, right?
well, yeah. So for one, I would say, when you say stupid, right? I use this term a lot: dumb, retarded, whatever. With that
Sure.
said, to some degree, here's what I think bleeds into the problem today: is I would look at most people are fairly, more than necessarily, drugged up to their demise. Whether it's a combination of, I'm not saying one drug. I'm not saying, oh, they're doing smack in the bathroom, right? I just mean through a lot of the new avenues that we have available to just go to your doctor and get prescribed some kind of medication that's known to be relatively safe. And meanwhile, now you are unalive yourselfable, right? You're in this
Right.
position where you're having different, right, brain functions than your normal, right? You are drugged up. You're living outside of reality to a degree. And the more we do this, the more we're living outside of reality. And that's kind of where my origin, like what I was aiming for, is to be grounded in reality. Doesn't mean,
Hmm.
similar to other people, I won't say some out of pocket stuff. Sometimes for a reaction, my own amusement. If other people don't like it, fuck them. But with that said, my basis is just to look at what is, right? I don't think that any of us have all the answers, right? That would be God, right? That would be the universe. But
Yeah.
we can still help guide through how we run our lives. And, I try to do it somewhat through making content, going over this stuff where it can be a benefit to young men in particular. I wouldn't think a lot of women would be watching my channel. I don't know why they would. I'd think they would be bored or disagree, not like it. I don't know. But at the end of the day, I'm looking from the perspective of that at base value, we're all, whether man, woman, or children, we all have an equal value. We're all important as human beings. With that said, I see the hierarchy of natural intrinsic power of men, women, children. And when we start, I mean, you were talking about kind of passing the burden on to women. I agree with you. And it came with a lot of negative repercussions for women. I don't think most are very happy today living the, the hot girl summer that extends into their fucking early 30s and they're just like on medication with cats. I'm not saying that's everyone, but I've seen it quite a bit in real
Sure.
life. Forget about social media. And when you think about it, it's pretty sad. And we can do better.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot of that's really a lot of accurate stuff right there. I mean, just in my own life, right? Like, I mean, I've lived. I don't know. I don't think most people realize that I'm old, right? Like, I'm 53. Like, most people think I'm in my late 30s for some
That's the
reason.
new 33. Come on.
I know it is
Be
actually. It's new 30.
reasonable.
It is. It is the new 30. I mean, I
Yeah.
act like I'm 30. I act like I'm like 21, but there's a lot of reality out there, right? And people just don't like reality. And you talk about hot girl summer, and you talk about all of this. What we're talking about is irresponsible behavior, right?
Mm.
And you're able, and if you don't delude yourself into it, I promise you that you have a friend that will delude you into it. And I think that I think there's a lot of things that can be said about how women hurt other women. And I think the worst possible thing for women to have are female friends.
Yeah.
I just,
So before we go deep into this, let me say, just to bring it back to the topic,
sure.
that
I'm
I
sorry.
think, no, you're perfectly good. What I'm saying though is bringing this back to the topic. I think we're talking all about the topic, is having your cake and eating it too.
Sure.
Let's say authority without responsibility. That would be a concept of having your cake and eating it too. The opposite of slavery, right? Which would
Hmm.
be, I mean, as I would view it, would be responsibility with no authority. The point is that you really can't have your cake and eat it too. Michael Jordan, he wasn't going to do anything but play basketball to become Michael Jordan. I don't mean he didn't do anything else, but there was only 24 hours in a day for him and everyone else. So this idea of like, not picking on modern day women, but just people in general, like, oh, I can have lots of money and lots of free time and no responsibility, and it just keeps going down into delusion. And it's like,
Hmm.
look, you're in the car world, right? You can have a
Well, I
fast
used to be.
car. Okay, you can have a fast car, a cheap car, or a reliable car. Pick two, right? I
Hmm.
mean, just that in and of itself, you're not going to get your cake and eat it too. It doesn't exist. And when we live in delusion, I think that we end up finding disappointment. At the end of the day, it's not fulfilling. It's not our purpose, generally.
Yeah, 100%. So I definitely see it. All of feminism is based that way. All of it. Like it's all with the idea that you can have a badass career and a family and a
Right.
husband that loves you and kids that adore you, but you don't have to do anything to but be a boss babe to get any of that. Like, you don't actually have to put the time in. You don't
Right.
act. It's going to be easy. Don't sweat it. And if it gets hard, you just pull the ripcord. If it gets hard to deal with your husband, you just pull the ripcord, get a divorce. If you don't like your kids, you shove them off to nannies. If you don't like your job, that's
Yeah,
fine. Your
yeah.
husband makes plenty of money, so you just quit your job and stay home. And there's always a parachute for women most of the time.
Right.
And
Yeah.
even and at the end of the line, at the and well, actually, I wouldn't say at the beginning of the line is this idea that they can sell themselves online, in person, in clubs, whatever. They can sell themselves and come out of it unscathed. And I
Right.
think that throughout history, that's proven to be absolutely false.
Mm-hmm.
There's absolutely no way that I mean I like it when when on the and whatever is not the only podcast this happens on, but when
Mm-hmm.
women you'll have an OnlyFans girl, or you'll have a hooker, or you'll have somebody, and
Mm-hmm.
they'll say something like, "Well, I'm just going to do this until I have X amount of money, and then I'm going to quit, and I'm going to have a normal life."
Unscathed, normal life, a reasonable life after, right?
Right, right.
So
And
exactly to the point. Right.
maximum level delusion, like absolutely crazy level delusion. And
Now, not to say that men don't do this as well in
oh,
different
absolutely.
ways, right?
Yeah,
Just to
we
be,
can get into the men part in a minute, but I'm just talking about the female part right now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I agree
And
with you.
so the problem is that the bill always comes due.
Yes, that's
It
exactly it.
always comes due. There's no getting out, man. There's
You're gonna
none.
pay. You're gonna
You
pay
are gonna
one
pay.
way or another,
Right.
right? So
And
let's say, I mean, to make your point, to go into it,
yeah,
but kind of simplify. Girl goes on OnlyFans for one day, and puts up one picture of her butthole. How much does that affect versus girl doing it every day for years? Well, granted, it won't as much, but if you think that there's no chance that anyone's ever going to see that, and it just wasn't on the record because it happened once and I deleted it, right? This type of thought, I just wanted to try it out. I just wanted to give a bukkake a try, whatever it is. Look, you're gonna pay for it, right? We all
right.
pay for things. I mean, just what you're saying. When the bill comes due, it's time to pay, and you might not like the results of that.
And in my last show, I actually kind of covered this because it used to be when I was young, and I knew girls that were like this, that they would have a hot girl summer, or maybe they worked in a strip club on the outside of maybe in the next town over, and nobody knew, and they went back to college, and they ended up having a good life and good husband and all of that, and it really was, and they were able to do that.
Yeah,
But the internet didn't exist really when I was in college. The internet was really new. You couldn't. The internet is now forever. Everybody has a camera, and what's worse is all of these girls rat themselves out. They all,
yeah,
everything they do is they put it up on Instagram. They document their entire lives. So what happens is that even if they decide to put it behind them,
right.
they go back and delete everything. It's still there. A
So,
dude hires a PI, does a search, it pops up.
yeah,
Now you're ruined. Your job, your company goes to hire you, and that one time that you got picked up for pandering or what, I don't even know what all. I'm guessing here. One time you got picked up on something is still in your record. It's there, right? And
so
you don't get your job. So
So
whatever.
yeah, I'm with you. I mean, granted, everything you do today, you might as well consider that you're on the fucking Truman Show, right? Somebody's got their camera out. You end up in some back of the background booty shake on TikTok. You didn't even know, whatever the
Yeah,
case. However, I would like to push back a little bit. So going
sure.
back, let's say 50 years ago, there was no TikTok, right? But and I'm not making this a religious debate, but not that we're even debating, we're discussing these ideas.
Hmm. Yeah.
But not to get too far into the religion, but if we're to believe, I think most people believe in a God.
Hmm.
Even 50 years ago, that was in front of God, right? Your life is still, granted, there wasn't cameras, there wasn't this, that. But my point in saying that is this: granted, you weren't going to pay in the same way as you would now. There was no PI, there was no Instagram trails, and whatever the case. However, it doesn't mean that it doesn't affect the relationship moving forward. Now, maybe they did move forward and have good relationships, but that doesn't
Sure.
mean that the man didn't eventually sense it out, kind of suss it out in one way or another, or whatever the case. My point is that what we do, whether or not it is recorded, does affect us in how we move forward. So I almost think it's good to just consider yourself on camera. I mean, not like, I'm in the shower, I'm being
Yeah.
watched, but just in
I
the
mean,
sense of when you do something, it is recorded to your life.
yeah, I mean, I go along with a lot of that. I mean, I guess I come from that era that we were pre internet all the time, every time. So we did actually. So, and this is actually something that I really notice in people that were young in the 2000 in the early 2000s.
Hmm.
Nothing gets put behind them. Like when like me, I put stuff behind me. Like it's gone. Like I forget about it. We're even. We're square. Um,
When you
and
say that, do you mean that, like, in terms of, like, if you were to get cut, not necessarily physically, but whether it's inside or whatever, that you're healing from it to the point that it's a scar, it's fucking done? Or do you mean that you're literally, like, forgetting it?
well, I don't think we can ever forget that. So that's yeah. I think that's a misnomer. I don't know that I've ever forgotten anything really, but let's just say that.
You're over it, though. Like, it's
Yeah, I'm
in the,
over it, right? Like
yeah,
I'll never mention it again. I will never bring it up again. It will never be an issue. It's a dead issue at that point, right? Like I will
right.
never. It's done. The problem with I think people who were uh, teenagers, young adults coming into the 2000s with all of the social media was it and all of the living online all the time
Hmm.
and a permanent record. They never forget anything and they never let it go and they carry it with them, and that's really burdening a lot of the mental state, and it colors everything they do. From when I look at people, and I don't know how you're. I'm going to assume you're like maybe 28, 29, something like that.
I
um,
appreciate that.
you appreciate that? Are you older or younger than that?
Yeah, late 30s.
Late. Oh wow, late 30s. All right,
Yeah.
well, all right, man, cool, good
I'm young
job.
at heart, just like you. Young at
That's
heart.
right, that's the way it
Yeah.
is. All right, well, cool. So if you were in your 20, if you were like 28, 29,
A decade ago, yeah.
a decade ago, but today, right?
Yeah.
Those guys never give up on anything. And I used to see it all the time in my business. I'd have somebody that we would like, I don't know, maybe we pissed him off, or he got pissed over something. Like 10 years later, dude's still pissed about it.
Yeah,
You
so
know?
I'd like to open this up. What you're
Sure.
referring to, the way I take it, right? So I did a video just, I mean, it was just a live stream, but discussing wounds versus scars. And what you're describing sounds very much to me like people are still wounded. Look, we all go through hardship. You did, I
Yeah.
did. They're different. Whose is better or
Right.
worse? Who the fuck knows? It's in the eye of the
Yeah.
beholder.
Yeah.
However, when we heal those scars, when we make amends, what you're describing, moving forward, no longer holding on to it, right? No resentment or, necessarily shame, but we've made amends with it. That is healing. That's being scarred up. That's part of, I think, getting towards manhood, actually
Hmm.
being man separating from boy. And we're losing a lot of that, I think, as you're describing very accurately, to the point where we look at a lot of society like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're still hurt about this shit 20 years ago. You didn't heal yet. And they're like, you don't know what I've been through. I don't need to know. I've gone through some other shit myself. But the point is, you need to heal you through getting over it, right? I mean, this is not a
Right.
magic pill. I'm not here to prescribe what anyone needs to do, but I'm just saying when you heal up those wounds and they become scars, that's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And that's actually an excellent way to put it. And I'll go a little bit further with that and say that even if it's not an actual, like maybe you didn't get cut, right? But maybe somebody bruised you a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't hang on to it, man. And I see this in men and women. They just never let it go. And like with my wife, I have a policy that we do not go to bed angry at each other ever,
Yeah.
because I firmly believe that if you go to sleep on something that you've not settled, it never goes away. You
Hmm.
lock it in, and it will always be there stuck in your. I firmly believe that, and I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong, honestly,
Well, for
but
most people, I think that you are correct, right? This is what happens. It lingers, this sickness, this open wound, and then everything becomes salt in the wound, right? We get butthurt and angry and get emotional and start tapping into our fucked up version of being feminine as men. And
yeah,
that shit doesn't bode very well over time. So I think the better that we heal our wounds, metaphorically, and like you said, it could be a bruise, maybe it was a small thing, but look at all the fucking triggering going on in society. Oh, I'm triggered over this, I'm triggered over that, I'm unhappy, you're unreasonable, I'm right, you're wrong. It's a lot of selfish intent that really doesn't even heal the so-called victim. They just keep digging into victimology. And I see a lot of men doing this, which has led us to a place, I mean, that I see where the men are leading. We are still leading, but we are leading overall in society poorly. And
right,
therefore, we have the result of
100%,
said women. And then we have the
hundred
result
percent,
of children.
100%. And so that weakness, I don't know that it's exactly weakness, but it's definitely it's a detractor, right? That colors everything you do, and it feeds into a lot of delusion, right? Like you start believing that people that you should trust with your life, you believe that you can't trust them. You're delusional that they're bad people, and these are probably people that are really trying to help you. And on the other side of that, people that are literally conning you, stealing your energy, your life, your money, whatever, you believe those fuckers,
Yeah,
right? Like, and I see this all the time,
right.
and I used to see it with, as I used to hang out with a lot of military guys, and
Yeah.
guys that had been in the combat together and all that, where they would literally do anything for each other because they have no delusions, and they lock that shit down. If they get mad
Hmm.
at each other, they settle it on the spot right then, or as soon as they are physically able to squash it and get rid of it and just pack that shit away, they do
Yeah.
it. The entire rest of our society, bar none, I give nobody a pass. The entire rest of our society has been trained that we should be happy.
Hmm.
We just talk about it and it'll be okay. And
Yeah.
no, that
No.
shit doesn't fucking work. You need to go have words with dude, right? Like you need
Hmm.
to, and sometimes you just need to lock it down. You need to realize that you're fucking wrong, or he's fucking right, or she's wrong, or she's right, whatever the fuck it is, whatever the real true answer
Reality.
is,
Yeah,
whatever
sure.
the reality is, you got to lock that shit down, come to terms with it, good or bad. If you're wrong, you need to internally say, I fucked up big
Sure.
time. If you're
So,
right, I'm sorry, I'm just going to, if you're right and the other person won't accept it, you just have to say, all right, I know I'm right. They're never going to accept it. We're moving on.
sure.
Done.
So I want to do a little pause, couple shout outs here. Beaten Cheeks in the chat. What up, man? So it's funny. I saw, I think the two of you did a podcast, something together, a
Yeah.
stream. I didn't
Yeah.
watch it. I just haven't had time, whatever.
Yeah. We're just having fun, man.
But yeah, I think Beaten a good dude. I give him a little bit of grief because I think he needs it. Nah, but I
Yeah.
think he's a good dude. He's here for the fight, so all good. Leroy, this is what therapy is for gays, girls, and children. I generally agree with that in terms of I don't think that therapy, traditional therapy, is usually the correct route for men. It seems like a lot
I,
of PC bullshit that ends up coming out. So, yeah, with you there. And also, I was going to ask you, so you're not a Leo, correct?
me?
Yeah.
Oh no,
Or
I'm
you
I'm an
weren't?
Aries, bro.
No, 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 no. I'm not. I'm not asking your sign. I meant law
Oh, okay.
enforcement or
Oh,
previous
law
military.
enforcement. No, no, dude. I'll give you a brief background, bro. I don't mind. Um, I grew up dirt poor in Tennessee. I got a very good opportunity to go to a military school
Okay.
on a scholarship. Um, I excelled at that. It taught me a lot in life. I got out. I went to college. I studied psychology. I had a dual minor, or pardon me, I had a dual major: psychology, criminal justice administration, and then I had a degree in philosophy, which is why I
Mm-hmm.
sound like a fucking teacher. And then I didn't do anything with that. I went into I actually ran movie theaters the whole time I was in college, and I actually thought that that's what I was going to end up doing, was just being a desk jockey somewhere and just living out my life, being miserable. But
Mm-hmm.
I got really into racing, and was really good at it, and I ended up I went to work for a race team. I learned everything I possibly could. I've never had I've actually never, other than like the little orientation class in auto shop, I've never had an auto shop class. I've
Mm-hmm.
never taken a single course in welding or anything. Everything I've done, I've learned from experts doing the job, because I would, and my methodology, which I think this is something that I need to talk about on my stream, is that people no longer suffer for their art, and I considered that my art, and I needed to
Right.
suffer for it. So
Right.
I would take low paying ass gigs, making no money, barely enough to put food on my table,
Right.
to go work and learn from masters, like
That
true
sounds like
masters
the
of the
way.
art.
Yeah. No,
And
that's good.
I came out of that where I owned my own shop. I owned several shops. I had my own race team. I was the guy. And there's a bunch of people that can say some really fucked up shit about me, and some of it's true. But nobody can say anything of that I was anything but what I am. And
Yeah.
I will and I tell everybody I am exactly who I say I am. I am not a nice person. I will be the first person to tell you that it takes every part of my being every single day to be nice to people in society.
Yeah.
Like
No, I feel you.
literally. And I'm not naturally nice. I don't have a lot of tolerance for bullshit at all. Um, and but on the other side of that coin, I would literally, if you needed it more than I did, I'd give you the shirt off my back.
I want
I
it.
don't I don't, I mean,
Um,
I'm not, I don't,
no,
but
I
I'm
got you
saying,
though. Yeah.
like I can't stand somebody that begs and just wants something for nothing. But if you want to get in there and you want to work, or you're just in such a fucked up place, because
Yeah.
and I tell everybody, when I was really down, when
Mm-hmm.
I really needed somebody, the Lord put somebody there that gave me exactly what I needed, whether I knew it
Right.
or not. They gave me exactly what I needed, and
I
so
agree.
I can do no less. I get, somebody asked me, I'd like to do this. If it's in my power, I'll do it. I'll give it to them. You know,
So yeah, no, I mean that is how I would aim to be, right? Is what you're describing. So I'm with you, and I think more men with aspirations, virtues towards being a good person, which sometimes, well, always means being a strong man. And it's not easy to do, right? We've all
true.
been weak, right? Who has not? But with that said, recognizing where we fucked up, what we have done that's right, and also that when doors close for us, other ones open. It's on us if we're going to give up or keep going, right? Keep climbing the fucking mountain. So I did want to touch real quick on what Beaten Cheek said here.
Yeah.
I was in wars and did therapy during and after the military, and it feminized me. So I've actually, whew, I dated a therapist for a while, and it was interesting. I'm not getting into any of that, but afterwards I was thinking about, I don't know, just like in my head would pop up some of the things that I would overhear her saying to her clients. And as I'm still growing, I was a bit younger back then, but I thought back and I was like, wow, that was some ultra feminist advice, like do more dishes and she was a couples counselor, and not saying anything bad about her, but I just mean in general, what terrible advice she was giving out at $150 an hour. It's mind blowing. So, anyways, I just had that to say about that. You got anything for him?
I mean, we all know that basically all of therapy, all of psychology is really aimed at turning men into women. It just is. I used to not believe that, and I didn't believe it even after I got my degree. To be honest with you, I thought that it was just kind of an outlook, but I think there's a reality. Again, I like to use that word. There is a reality that we have to face, and
Right.
that is that for a very long time, men have been told to not be men. They've been told not to. If somebody hits you, don't hit them. Well, that's the most fucked up thing I've ever heard in my life. If you hit me, you better kill me because I'm going to hit you. Right? Like that's how that has to happen. There's no other way for that to happen. For someone to literally teach an entire society that it's okay for another grown man to come up and hit you, and what you should do is not hit him back, but call the cops. How fucked up can we be?
Well, no. Hold on. Another man will handle my problems, right? And I'm not
Right, right.
necessarily advocating that
The
every
dead,
time.
what is it? The not dedicated. Whatever. I'm sorry. I lost my train of thought.
So I'm just saying I'm not necessarily co-signing that blanketly. Like if somebody hits me, right? If it, I suppose there's some situations I might not hit back, but as a general point, I agree with you. Is that if we're to be men, right? So many men purport themselves to be, I'm the man. I'm the man that makes all the money, runs all the show. And this is one of the videos I have lined up. I thought it'd be interesting for you and I to analyze it a little bit, real time. It's a newer video. Some people I'm sure you know. So, with that said, are you down to jump right in it, or did you want to
Yeah,
say anything else
let's
on
go to
that?
some videos, man.
All right,
Let's
cool.
do it.
So this video here is it looked like it just came out, Fresh and Fit. I'm sure you know them. This dude Fresh, who is on this date, and I just thought it'd be interesting to analyze it. I did the one with his partner there, Fit or whatever, Myron, and yeah, if I could figure out how to do this. All
That's
right,
all
so
good.
here we go.
A million.
No, I don't need a millionaire though.
No?
No,
You ever dated a millionaire before?
no.
What if that was in front of you right now?
Are you a millionaire? Is that what you're
I'm
trying to
saying
tell
in
me?
general. This is boy Fresh from the Fresh Fit Podcast. I'm here to win her heart because you know what? I'm gonna step for all the island men and say, you know what? We get gal. We're gallus. Real bad man. I mean, I'm already black, so yeah, I've been grilled a lot. I love going on dates, man. It's a lot of fun.
So, look, just as a preamble here, I'm not a big fan of these guys. I'm not a big fan of the character that they purport and promote. With that said, I think it's interesting. We do have a lot of young men watching this, and maybe women. I'm not so concerned with what they think, to be honest. But we do have a lot of young men who are role modeling to these guys. So I'm not really caught up on who it is, but I know this is a pretty big face out there. Everyone pretty much know Fresh and Fit. And he's doing a date for, I would take it, publicity, and also to kind of pre-qualify himself with other women in the future. That's how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, so I've actually never been able to watch one of their podcasts because they're just so horrible, and they're just
No.
like, it's just bad. It's just I mean, I just don't agree with their message on any level, really. I mean, I guess at the very basis level, maybe, but I can't get past their garbage. So,
Yeah, no,
um,
I'm with you, but
they-
still fair dissection. I'm just
sure,
looking for fair points.
yeah. No, I
Reality.
can. I'll be fair about it, but I've just never watched one of their videos. I don't buy into I don't buy into what they're selling, and because I've
Exactly.
100% that they're so I don't like people who try and sell stuff, right? Like if you want to tell me something and let me decide, cool. If you're trying to sell me this prepackaged like thing, that's less cool. And they seem
So
very prepackaged.
So to your point, this is something I would say in sales in general. If people, consumers, can see the funnel, it's not a very good funnel. And what you're describing is like, look, I see your funnel and it's fucking trash. This is snake oil. Now, with that said, there are things they say I agree with. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. But no, generally maybe half of the things they say, regardless of how they say it,
Well,
definitely ring in truth.
yeah, let me preface this by saying that my biggest problem with them is they really claim to be red pill, and they actually supposedly really represent red pill. And
Right.
when red pill first came out, I've said this multiple times. I'll say it multiple more times, I'm sure. when I first heard about red pill, and I guess Rollo had written a book, and it kind of went around and became a thing.
Yeah.
I thought red pill. I thought of red pill as like a good thing. Like it's men's advocacy, where you're telling young men to get their money right, get in better shape, or at least get healthy, right? Like you don't have to be
Right.
jacked, but just hit the gym once in a while.
Sure.
Get it, keep a job, right? Like all of the things that red pill initially talked about.
The surface. Yeah, I'm
Looked,
with you.
it was good. It was good. And I was like, yeah, that's right. Men have needed that message for a while. And
Right.
then the charlatans came out. And you've got guys like Waller who's going around talking about trying to sell real estate, buying systems. And you've got all of these grifters that have come out. And honestly, my opinion, full disclosure, I basically view Fresh and Fit as a couple of grifters who are using a doctrine to make money.
I would go further to say that they're very aligned with feminism in a lot of ways, and yet purport to be completely against it. And this is where I'm talking about words and actions not aligning. So here we are watching this dude, we'll get back into it, where he is going to be the embodiment in some sense, or at least he's attempting to display the embodiment of what they promote. And I'm just looking for the cracks and flaws, like why this doesn't make sense. And if it does make sense, then that's what you'll hear out of me. But generally, I see them as snake oil salesmen, and they have that kind of grift aura to them.
Yeah.
So I'm not trying
100%.
to, market too
100%.
much, but let's take a look here.
Sure.
Ready to go? How's it going?
Oh, and by the way, you want to pause? Other than me pausing, just say pause.
Hi, are you okay?
Fresh.
Nice to meet you,
Nice to
Michelle.
meet you.
Did you come from far today?
Pretty far. Mayfair. Stunning.
And your accent is?
I'll give you a hint.
Go on.
Rihanna.
Oh, she's from Barbados?
You got it.
Is that it?
Good job.
So, not to pause so soon, but look, I got to.
Sure, man. Go ahead.
Already what I see is I know what she wants to hear. I'm so concerned about how she feels about me that I'm going to do everything I can to manipulate how she feels about me. So I'm going to name drop things that just form some kind of bond between me and Rihanna, right? Oh, where are you from? She knew he was going to ask that. Or he knew she was going to ask that. So already canned line, oh, that place that Rihanna's from, do you know
Yeah,
where?
very clean.
Can you qualify yourself to me? And I'm just pointing out the game. I'm just pointing out I'm a man
Yeah.
that can see the cracks in this man's game. That's all.
Yeah. Got it. Yeah, you're right.
All right, we'll hop back.
Oh, lovely. Yeah, I love that. I've always wanted to go Barbados. Gives me a reason to. Do you date a lot?
It depends. If I'm free time, maybe. But honestly speaking, like I have to have a connection first. Then maybe like from there, I'll go on a date.
He's just walked in and he's got a really...
Look, I got to do it. So do you see here the cake and eating it too, or would you perceive it in him saying, "Oh, I don't date that much," because she knows she doesn't want him to say, "Oh, I'm a man whore. That's what I do." Right? I don't even date. I just fuck. Right? She don't want to hear that. So he's saying, he's playing the side of, oh, when I have time. But on his show, oh, I got over 1,000 body count. Look at me. I don't see that as very aligning.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he very much to me is coming off as he is running off a script in his head, right? Like
Right.
She's going to say this. I'm going to say this. She's going to say this. I'm going to say that. So yeah.
So Leroy say, I don't think this dude has the intelligence, assuming he does. Yeah, I mean, maybe not, but nonetheless.
Leroy, buddy, he is running a script. I promise you, he's run this script a dozen times. He's crash and burn 8 of them, and
Right.
He's finally got it down. He's got it dialed in where he looks at her. He says, this is this type of girl. This is what she's going to want to hear. And he throws it against the wall. If it sticks, great. If it doesn't, he goes to plan 2. He's got backup already online. He's ready to go.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Here we go.
Lovely energy.
I think she's an eye for me, bro. I feel like coming in smooth, just being chill. She likes that,
So how would you build a connection?
Let's say
Look, again, I'm seeing this just a different angle here. This is like a little boy, right? Oh, this is what I think she thinks about me. Like, I realize this is meant to be heterosexual, but how gay is that? Like, oh, what does she think about me? Isn't your purported red pill frame of reference your own self before the woman?
See, this is why I can't even watch one of their shows. It's so bad. It's so like anybody can see through this game. Anybody, and you know what? She does too, but she's going along with it because she knows that he has money or that he has status or whatever, and she's just going to go along with it to see how far it takes her. And if
Sure.
it doesn't
Yeah.
take her, then she because she knows she can punch out anytime.
Yeah.
You know, she's the one that's right now. He's auditioning for her, and she knows it. And so
Right.
once if she gets the ick right, she punches out.
Yeah. She'll
But
bounce.
yeah, she'll bounce out. And so she's like, but right now she's like, well, maybe he's got money, maybe he's got status, maybe he knows some rappers, maybe I can get into his group, whatever. She's
What
trying
can
to
you do
figure
for
out
me?
what is there that you have that I can take from you?
Right. And look, again, I don't,
Cynical, but
intend. Yeah, and look, I don't intend to personally attack anyone, other than maybe a little troll jab here and there. But with that said, I'm not looking to go after, oh, who he is or whatever. I'm looking at actions and character, where you're
right,
coming from, and breaking it down,
right,
dissecting. Because even though, as you said, you're kind of like, well, nobody would buy this. Here's the thing: a lot of men are buying it. A lot of young men are buying it. They are.
right. Well, yeah, I mean when I said that, I should have said no woman's going to buy this, right? But yes, young men will buy. Young men will look at what he's doing right now, look at the tactics, and say, "Well, this guy's got it together, man. This guy knows
Right.
what he's doing. I better listen to this guy. I'm gonna, you know what? I'm gonna subscribe. I'm gonna connect. I'm gonna send him. I'm gonna send him some money. I'm gonna buy all of his books or tapes or what the fuck ever. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
Now, beaten cheeks. You right. You right. Males.
young
And
males, all right.
and
Fucking
look,
cheek.
it's hard not to pick this stuff out when so many people are going along with the ride, men and women to different degrees, varying degrees, and we don't have enough of other men sort of shaming their actions. Look, this is currently who you're purporting to be and what you're going to do for men, apparently. And now, when I see the flaws in it, it's my duty, if I'm on a platform, to point it out for other young viewers. Look, this is not the path you have to take, right? I wanna have a good wife, or whatever the case is. This is not it. This is not the person. And again, not trying to even dig at the person, but the actions and character, right? The lack of virtue, the idea of I'm gonna put the woman on the pedestal, even though I don't put women on the pedestal. I bang thousands of women, hundreds of thousands, right? But meanwhile, what are your actions actually saying?
So there's two things here. First, that was a home run, dude. You're absolutely right. Absolutely, 100%. Second thing is he's putting on a show too. I mean, he's full
Yeah,
of crap, right?
yeah,
Like he's absolutely full of crap right now, and you know we all know it, right? Like every dude can look at it and say, yeah, that dude's full of crap. But this is what he does, and he should be shamed for it. That shaming works, right?
right.
Like that's
Agreed.
a real thing,
Right.
and
Bring shaming back. That's what
bring
we're doing.
shaming back.
That's what we're
Yes,
doing to
bring
some
shaming
degree.
back. Bring shaming back. And on her side of it, you know, she could be a little more intelligent about how she conducts this, right? She's only looking at what can you do for me? What do I hear from you? What are the answers I'm going to get that are going to make me okay with this, right?
Sure. Yeah.
And yeah, so I mean,
And
there's
we'll
a
see
lot
what
there.
happens,
Yeah,
because with that said, this is entertainment. It is a show. It's meant for, some kind of drama,
and we
action
don't know
happening.
how my big problem with shows like this is you don't know how staged they are, and I really hate that shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that's so
Totally agree.
especially it's
It's a TV show. It's a bad
yeah,
drama from the 80s
it's a
that
really
is
bad.
here
Yeah,
now. Yeah.
as I continuously say, it's the lowest form of content, man. It's
But it's
absolutely
selling. It's selling high, and that's why we're here. And to
well,
point out, you and I don't have a script, right? We talked for 5 minutes before coming on here and said, "Look, we're gonna,
yeah,
do a show, have a conversation." Does it get more organic? I mean, we've talked a little bit in Discord, maybe a couple of lines, but other than that,
yeah,
this just two guys
yeah.
talking.
I mean, I think that to your earlier point, I think that young men that look at this are just so desperate right now for any
Yes,
heroes to come along,
right,
and he's not a hero.
right.
That's
That's
the
a very good
problem.
point. Yes.
They we need to establish what those heroes are. Now, one of the problems with that is that currently there's so much infighting in who the heroes are because they don't align with you. And this is something that this is something, and man, I really hate to sidebar this right now, but this is something
No,
that's
do it.
really annoying. If my philosophy doesn't align with your philosophy exactly, then we fucking hate each other, right?
Right. Yeah.
And
That's how the
that's
world
bad.
seems to operate. Yeah.
That's how a lot of people in the space are working on are actually acting, right? Like we saw that today. The guy came in and was all pissed at Andrew. Like, why? Why? Just because it doesn't align exactly with the thing that you believe doesn't mean that 90% of what we're talking about we stand firm on. And we used to have tolerance and actual tolerance in this country where I could disagree with you about something. Like there's a lot of people that disagree with me. I think it's weird that if a woman's not married by the time she's 25. I think it's more weird if she's not married by the time she's 28. And I think that men deserve to know why, right? Like,
Hmm.
what the fuck is she doing to sabotage relationships, or why is she not getting into relationships with men? There's got to be a reason, right? Like,
Yeah.
men
Yeah.
pursue women. Women, it's not like she's just said, "Well, I'm not going to pursue men." If you're being pursued and you don't and you've not accepted any of them, then what is the problem? Is it them or is it you? And we deserve to know. But a lot of people push back on that against me because they're like, no, that it's okay to be single at 35 or no. When I was 35, I tried dating 30-year-olds and they're all psycho. I went all the way down to 24 because that's where the psycho is at its most manageable level. And I'm being a little funny there, but seriously, it's
Yeah,
and
no, I mean, I get what you're saying. Look, it's a balance of probabilities. You're better
yeah,
off with less damaged
baggage.
women, I mean, it just is.
Right.
But, before we open up a can of worms there, because we could
See, we
probably
talk on the
talk about a lot on that. Let me put this back on. Let's jump back in.
Yeah, yeah.
phone,
Let's talk about.
FaceTime. It's cool. Good
Okay.
vibes. Then we go from there.
What's your like move to a woman? Is it like through DM? Would you like to meet women organically?
It was so many questions coming at me, bro. Like a lot. I prefer organic, but like if I'm busy working, then DMs.
What's your DM line?
Honestly, it's simple.
What is it?
I can't say it, it's a secret. Instagram DMs. I just do my thing.
Oh, that's quite funny, but it was back to front.
Shout out Trap Star. It's a secret. What do you want in a man?
Confidence, maturity, loyalty, respect. That's about it, really.
That's it.
Yeah, it's a great man.
So what if he's like a drug dealer with all that stuff?
I'm down with it. As long
Really?
as you're a great man, yeah.
Roadman. What?
He was surprised at that one. As long as you're a great man, I don't care what you do.
Wow.
If you've got respect.
All right, so pause here.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot there, but one thing I was going to touch on is just kind of briefly, and again, considering this is entertainment value, I mean, not to me outside of this, I wouldn't be watching it. I don't give a fuck. But when the idea is, oh, she's going to tell me what she wants. I think that's halfway as dumb as listening to what children think that they want. Granted, sometimes they know, but I'd much rather look at the woman's actions than necessarily ask her outright. And reason being is I think generally, men, we are more apt to talk in logic, say what we think based on reality to some degree, whereas women, it's more of, well, this is what I feel, and the misalignments are often pretty heavy. So my point is, it's kind of pointless asking, what do you want? You're not going to usually, well, can't say usually, but you're less apt to get a real answer than just finding the value in her actions, how that reciprocates back to you, and judging over time. Men are too quick in general, I've been guilty of this, to be, whatever word you want to use, in love or head over heels or whatever the case, obsessed with desperation, which you hit on with women. Oh, I'm getting laid, right? But meanwhile, this can cause some big problems. Getting married too quickly to somebody who is not virtuous but is giving you some elements that you like. Oh, well, she said that she doesn't like feminists. Well, if she's acting in a way that suggests the opposite, you should follow her actions, not her words. And that's true with people, but I'm just pointing out with women, it's more apt to tell us about your feelings than what is reality.
So what I'm seeing, and this video is kind of going the way I thought it would. For most men, I think most men date very haphazardly and stupidly and desperately, right?
Right, that's, yeah.
So I always dated with intent, and I either had an intent to go get laid or I had an intent to get married. One of those two things. There's no real middle ground. I don't want to be friends necessarily or anything like that, but those two, it was one of those two. They're
Yeah.
two very different things, two very different criteria. The one thing is when you went to go, even when I was way back in high school, man, I started formulating the disqualifiers. And by that, I mean the things that a woman would do, say, or just be
Yeah.
that instantly they're gone. Like there's
Right.
no, it's literally pass fail, right? Like
Right.
I don't like this and I don't like that, and and here's my thing about that. There are more available women somehow than there typically are available men, right? Typically. And whatever your flavor is, blonde, brunette, Asian, half black, whatever your flavor is, there are beautiful women in numbers available. The problem is that most people can't determine what they want. They'll just take anything. It's
Right.
literally like walking down the supermarket shelf and there's rows and rows of ice cream and you like chocolate ice cream, but the first ice cream you see is vanilla and you take fucking vanilla,
Right.
right? And you know that you're going to fucking hate it because you hate vanilla, but you take it anyway.
It's on sale.
It's on sale.
Comes with a little baggage, but it's on sale. So look, this plays into hire slow, fire fast, like you're saying.
Yeah.
You do one of these things, these boundary crossing things, to the degree that it takes, you are gone, goodbye. Whereas men are not. They're the opposite of trigger happy. They are trigger in fear of now missing out, right? Almost like FOMO.
Right.
I'm going to be alone. I'm going to be desperate. I'm going to continue to be desperate. And it's just this vicious cycle that seems to be happening with a lot of men in society.
No, you're right. And I think that, I don't know how to put this without being a dick, but I mean, I'll just do it anyway.
No, just be a dick.
Men don't want to. So men have gotten to the point where they do not understand that they are the prize. Women always say they're the prize. They're really not the prize. I don't believe that. I used to believe it. Men are the ones that provide. Men are the ones that are there. Men are the ones that build everything in a life. Women are a soft, fluffy cushion that you keep around to keep you warm. I'm being very funny and very dramatic there, but at the end of the day, if you accept anything less than what's perfect for you, you've lost. You will lose your house, you will lose your car, you will lose your life as you know it. You're done. You will, and it's the facts back that up. The divorce rate's super high, and women get divorced because they're bored. So the way this guy is dating, the way this guy is showing people how to date, leads directly to divorce.
And yeah, I mean, look, he's perpetuating the same problems that he is calling out, right? All these fucking thoughts, and then you're making them, right? In part, I don't mean that he's making them all. But
He's
speaking of red
recruiting them.
flags, yeah, he's recruiting. So here's red flag number 94. If you fucked fresh before, you gone. And I mean,
Yeah,
really though,
you're
I
in my
mean that,
head.
and not just him, but right, like men like him, who are doing what he's doing, moving with what seems to be very little moral compass, very little outside of what is good for me. This selfish, it's almost a feminine, a fucked up version of feminine, right? Because men can't really be feminine in a positive way, or at least not holistically, right? Like, oh, what a wonderful feminine man that is. When have you ever heard that? I mean, it doesn't make sense. Really, and what feminine is, the way I'd look at it, right? Feminine versus masculine is just our natural imperatives, like who we are if we're true to ourselves. The less that we're drugged up, the less we're influenced by a lot of the programming going on, right? As we de-influence ourselves from it, right? Kind of neutralize out, that we're more apt to be in our natural masculine, right? It's not about, oh, I need to be more masculine. No, you need to be more of who you are. Be true to you. That's being a man, right? That's being your own man, your own point of origin, not worrying about, oh, what's she thinking? Do you think that was cool, guys, what I said? Like, no, I don't think it was cool. I think it was corny.
I think that's a really good point because there's nothing in his conversation, his voice, his mannerisms, anything that says masculine.
Right.
Nothing. Not one thing. Even the way he's dressed. If I saw that dude in a restaurant, I would literally think he parked cars for a living. Because
Look,
I'm just saying.
and I don't want to be too judgmental. I always say that, but
Look, I'm not
look,
saying.
we,
Look, I'm sure he's a millionaire. I'm just saying if I see a dude like that in the restaurant, talking to a chick like that, in that way, dressed that way, I'm not thinking this guy's a badass man or a dude or whatever, bro, jacked, whatever. I'm not
a
thinking
guy's
that,
guy. He's a girl's guy.
he's not a man's man. I'm literally looking at him going, that dude parks cars and he's got enough money to take this chick on a date and blow her socks off and hopefully, she'll go home with him. That's what I would naturally think. I would not look at him in his outfit sitting across from her and think, yeah, that dude's a millionaire scoping out his next ex-wife.
Yeah,
I wouldn't think that.
Right. He's not, I guess if we're dissecting, his attire for this date, right, you're not in a date fashion. This is extremely casual to the point where it's like, look, you so against feminism, and yet you're purporting it just from a different angle, like to how it would benefit you. Yeah. But meanwhile, you're saying, oh, we hate feminism. We don't want feminism. Look at what it's caused. And yet you perpetuate it through your own actions. And again, looking at the difference between actions and words as best we can. I mean, because obviously this entertainment show.
Sure. Well, yeah. And again, we don't know how much of this is scripted. And which is why I'm not going to say that he personally, I'm not going to attack him as a person. I'm not going to say Fresh is a fuckhead or anything. I mean, I just did, but I wouldn't, I'm not attacking him as a person. I'm attacking the character he is playing in this production,
and that he's going along with to play. So
right, and apparently,
respect. You've got.
Yep, go on.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead. Let's see it.
Loyalties. You've got a great mentality. You're a very masculine man. You lead. You guide. Emotionally intelligent, spiritually intelligent. Everything. I don't care what you do.
I'll say this: that is a huge red flag because listen, if you can't judge a person's character, that's a red flag for me, bro.
I don't agree with that.
What is emotional intelligence?
Understanding a woman's emotions, understanding your own emotions, being able to communicate it healthy, being able to reciprocate it healthy, and understand it more than anything. And a lot of men don't understand women's emotions or their own emotions. And I think that gets where it gets complicated.
So look, is she right from your perspective? She's just framing it as a lot of men aren't in touch with their own, something like that, in touch with their own emotions and therefore, and adding on to not with women's.
I mean, that's more that feminist bullshit where they talk about, well, so, well, they want, women want men to display emotions to women the same way that women display emotions to women.
They think they want that.
They think they want that. The minute they get it, they bail.
Right,
And
right.
my personal experience, and I can't speak for everybody, but I I 100% believe that the more stoic you are in life, probably the better you are. The less you talk about you, I mean, you can talk about your feelings in such a way that you're not a pussy. Okay, I can say, hey, this really hurt my feelings, and I didn't really like that, and not be a whiny bitch. You know what I'm saying? And
Well,
and and,
okay,
and
so
you would also have to be very careful. Well, not very careful. A real man knows when to talk about that and who to talk about that
well,
to.
that's what I was going to say. Who? I mean,
Yeah,
to go a little bit further down there, right? There's a big difference, I think. Maybe emoting to your closest friend or friends in a situation, let's say a crisis, right? We're all human. And I
sure.
don't mean breaking down and rolling on the ground crying like you're on fire, but I do mean that's a different context than displaying it to your woman, speaking to her like, hey, this is my partner. I'm going to go tell my partner about my feelings. That's a different thing, as well as when we see men do it in public, right? Lose their emotions when they know they're in front of other young men looking up to them. They're in a leadership role, whether or not they want that or like that. It just is. So I think they're different contexts.
Well, I mean, I'm going to be honest with you, man. I've been married for 18 years. I do not talk to my wife about anything related
Oh, no, no, just stop
to my
there.
feelings. I don't
Yeah, no,
talk
I
to my
got
wife
you.
about it. Very, very rarely do we talk about, if I'm having a bad day. Well, first of all, she never knows if I have a bad day because I don't tell her that. I don't, that's not something she needs to know.
Right,
If I'm angry at somebody, not her, not none of her stuff. You know,
right. Yeah,
um, it's just not a conversation to have. And I think that first of all, I think that men are very wrongly told that they need to have a bunch of friends and all of that. And women obviously have too many friends. But I mean, dude, I've said this many, many times before. I,
friends, friends.
I, I have maybe three friends. A good case could be made that I only have one actual friend.
I
I
was
have a
gonna say
lot of
that's a lot. Three. God damn.
a good case could be made. I got one. Well, I'm old man,
Yeah,
so
no, I'm
I've
with
picked
you.
up.
Yeah,
But a good case could be a legit case could be made that I have just the one friend. All of them I've had for decades, decade. Like we know each other really well, and
yeah,
even then I don't talk to them about shit unless it's really damn important, and they
right,
don't call. I If one of my friends called me up and said some shit like, you know, my wife threw me out. I'm fucking depressed. I'd tell him to quit being a pussy, get his shit together, go get in the
right.
fucking hotel, call me tomorrow.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
that's a good friend.
I'm just, there's
No, for
no,
real though. Yeah,
um, and
you.
if I called, and if I called anybody up and said, hey, dude, I just need to talk for a few minutes. I'm having a real bad day. They'd ask me what the fuck happened to me.
Yeah,
They'd probably think I was being impersonated. It's just not how men should act. It isn't. Now you can be a soft man, and maybe you have three or four friends, and you have this circle jerk every week where you talked about your feelings and all of that. Okay, that's cool. That's a Plato thing. You can go back. That's cool. Socrates, Plato. You can have your little circle of wisdom or whatever. That's cool. I don't. Okay, I don't, and I never have, and I never will. I don't talk to people about it. I sort it out on my own. I'm a grown ass man, and this is where we what Fresh and Fit misses. What all of these podcasts miss
mm-hmm.
is if you're a grown ass man, that means something, right? Like
Yeah,
that term should mean you know what the fuck you're doing. You know how to solve your own damn problems, and if you don't, you know how to go ask in such a way that you're not putting that problem on somebody else. If I if
Right. Yeah.
if I had a, fuck, I can't even think of anything that really fuck up my life right now. But
That's
if I
that's a
had
good
some,
problem. That's a good problem to have.
if I had some stupid, which I just, it would never happen because I do not associate with any females other than my wife alone. Period. But let's just say that some woman, claimed that I harassed her or something,
Could
and
happen. Yeah.
it came at me and was going to go tell my wife or claim that they had pictures of my dick or some shit like that. If somebody did that, I wouldn't talk to fucking anybody about it. I'd sort that shit out on my own.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that I honestly, I can't think of anything that I could that now there are things that if something happened that my wife and I would go through together. Now that's where we draw the line. Like if something happened to my son,
Yeah.
one of my sons, that we would go through that together, right? But I would
there's
still
context.
my portion of it, I'm never going to break down to somebody and say, man, let me just say that in the last 2 decades, I can't think of a single man that's seen me cry.
Mm-hmm.
And it may go 3 decades, might
Yeah.
be 3 decades.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's how it is supposed to be. Period. End of list. There's no exceptions to that. You just shouldn't do it. And is that bad? Does that cause us to tamp down those feelings? Or fuck, Mike, damn, Brian would have freaked out. I hit my mic. Holy fuck.
So I want to reel back what you're
ahead, man,
saying.
sorry.
Yeah, that's all right. Brian not here. So I want to reel back to having your cake and eating it too. So back to if you want to be man for all of us, right? I'm not just speaking to whoever's watching, but if we as men, adult males, want to be men, we have to do men shit that fucking sucks sometimes, right? And the idea is that society, some of these fresh and fit, whatever podcasts promote is, look, you can do a man without doing the man shit to some degree, right? You can have the good part without the bad part. You can have your cake and eat it too. And that's delusion. Whether it's being sold, right, as snake oil, whatever the case, right, buy my course, and I'm going to show you how to pick up women, or I'm going to show you, whatever it is.
Shit. That's that
Right.
grifter shit. Hey, I think that my cable came loose or something. I'm going to be off screen for like, I don't know, 5, 15, 20 seconds, something like that. Maybe a little longer.
Yeah, no, you're good. I'm putting the video on, so do your thing.
Yeah, put the video on, talk a little bit. I'll be back in a second.
You're good.
I agree.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Are you emotionally available?
I believe so.
Yeah.
For the right person, yeah.
Are you quite good at communicating your emotions?
I would say yes, because I'm very understanding, but it has to be the right person, because I can say all this now, but if I don't like the person,
So
then
it depends on.
depends.
You have a really nice energy.
Thank you.
Felt it when
I heard
you
that a lot.
walked in.
Good vibes.
Yeah, you have a really great vibe. Yeah, lovely. He is so lovely.
So nice energy. Honestly, I like her a lot. So hold on, let me get this straight.
Go on.
He could be a porn star.
Oh no! Don't get carried away.
You just
All right. Honestly, all right, here we go. I like her a lot. Right, even promoting this, even if this is all an act and a stage, but I like her a lot. I know we just met like 30 minutes ago, I guess, in theory. But here's Fresh's judgment that he's purporting to young men is, I know I just met her, but I like her a lot. And I'm not saying that you can't like a woman, right? Although that sounds a little bit gay. No, but look, using good discretion, good discernment, taking your time, hiring slow, firing fast, as Unreasonable Man was saying. That's what will get you good results with women, looking for, right, ideally promoting the family values that we're missing in America. But this idea of, oh, I just met her and I really like her already. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? You don't know her one single bit.
you just
Okay,
said.
maybe I should have specified a bit.
Okay.
A reasonable job. I wouldn't want you having sex with other women. You wouldn't be loyal then, would you? So, don't push the boat out. Porn stars too far.
Well, you know what they say, black men are
Remember
always
that.
loyal, you know?
I thought it was black men don't cheat.
Same thing.
Is that the truth?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you cheat?
Of course not.
Have you ever cheated?
Why would I?
I don't know. Why would you? Why does any man cheat?
I'll be honest with you. I personally have never cheated in my life.
Yeah, again, he promotes, this is not a verbatim, but he definitely promotes, he's a test of promoting, is you should be able to cheat on women. If we're going to use that phrase, cheat, he's saying I've never cheated, and I'm not in his sex life, thank goodness, right? But, you know, the idea that I don't cheat, yet he's telling all his fans, men deserve to cheat. That's what they're saying. And I'm not even judging the value of these statements. I'm just pointing out the contradiction.
Well, that's actually a really big problem I have with it too. Again, while I would never say someone has to live the exact way I do. For me, once you decide to have one woman, that's it. Okay, even if it's for a short time. Like, and when I was, you know, and I just use myself as an example, man. Back when I was dating, and I was, you know, I was not seriously dating. Even then, I didn't have a roster. I didn't have 3 or 4 girls I was hooking up with. It was I would date one girl and she would know it's not serious. And if I found someone else I liked, I'd just say, hey man, I you know, I can't see you anymore. You know, we're done. I mean, you know, go find somebody else. You need better than me anyway. And I'd move on to the next girl, right?
So
and
you were honest.
Oh yeah, you have to be honest, man. I mean,
well, he's not being. It doesn't seem. That's why I'm just pointing out the difference.
I don't understand this part because it's so much easier to be honest. It's so much easier to just say the words. I'm not that. Look, you're cool. I enjoyed hanging out with you. I got to move on, you know. Or
well, when you say it's so much easier to be honest, you know, my pushback would be, well, not even pushback, but for you, it sounds like it's easier. But for someone like Fresh, for instance, it seems that right, he would disagree. No, it's hard to tell the truth because then what do I have to be? I have to be a man. Right, I'm somebody of my word, a man of my word. Right, very things that they promote on one hand, and yet the other is, well, here's my cake, and I'm going to eat it. Which one is it? You have to pick at some point if you're not going to be at odds with yourself. Because at the end of the day, I don't care what he does with his dick or his whatever the case. However, I do care that this is the message for young men and that is affecting the women and children, what we used to call family in society.
Yeah, absolutely. I prefer brutal honesty. I always have. I just it's too much trouble to lie. You have to think about it. You have to come up with a lie. Then you got to stick to the lie, and then you got to remember.
Yeah,
got to remember the lie, and then you got to remember who you lied to because you know you don't want to forget which chick you lied to. I mean, I just prefer brutal honesty. That way, it's simple. It's easy to remember. Just and at the end of the night, I can sleep with myself.
Yeah,
right. Like I don't,
and that's what matters.
And this is where I know that I am no longer the typical male. I understand that about me, but I do not drink. I've never drank. I've never smoked. I've never done drugs. I don't even gamble. I don't do, and I very rarely take medicine unless I absolutely need it. So I know that that's unique, but if you have to down a 6-pack to go to bed at night, you have something fucking you up and you need to fix it.
You're putting Band-Aids on. Yes, exactly.
Exactly right. And you're talking to a guy who's probably got we're talking about a guy who by his dress looks like he has an 8-ball a day habit or something, So,
I mean, it's possible.
It is Miami.
All right.
Really?
100%.
So you're a one woman kind of.
100%.
See, I like you.
Because if I'm going to do that, I'm going to be single, right?
Exactly.
But if I'm going to commit to somebody, then I'm.
So we all get on really well.
Yeah.
I feel it. I wasn't expecting this. So I went on a date with your friend Myron last week, and it was mental.
Really?
Yeah, he's mental.
Tell me more.
he's just very insecure, and he's got a very obscure way.
Insecure?
Yeah, he's insecure. He's got a very obscure way of women and his viewpoints. I really wasn't expecting you, because you're like this, aren't you two?
Yeah.
To have such an opposite mindset.
I think he's more like fiery hot. I'm like icy chill. Yo, what's she mad at Myron, bro?
You know, I didn't realize for a second she was talking about Myron, but that's right. I actually did put part of his on as well. And I guess that was the woman. I didn't even remember her. But apparently that was the same one. Yeah, so kind of funny. Think about this. She's pointing out, and again, I state that I kind of take women's words with a grain of salt, as I believe they should be, if we're to operate in reality. But I do find it kind of interesting. She pointed out how different she perceives them. And I'm not saying either of her perceptions are right or wrong, but it's just interesting because they seem to co-sign each other 100%. I mean, in terms of how they operate and purport to their audience, the show, and young men, right? Quote unquote, young men, that we are giving you all this help, all this guidance, self-proclaimed leaders of the red pill.
Yeah, man, it's very interesting. There's a couple of really interesting things. Is that, first of all, why would it? This just smells like a setup. Like the whole thing is rehearsed. Like there's no other way about it, right? Like it seems like they're trying to sell, as you said earlier, some teenagers on some stuff.
A dream, selling them on a dream. This could be you. This could be us, right? Like, put yourselves here. This is virtual reality. I know that's not quite it, but in a sense, that's what the marketing would lead to, is imagine yourself in this position. Look how you would act if you're like me, and look how you'll get responded to if you're like me.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so set up that they even use the same girl to...
Right, and I didn't realize that, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and okay, maybe it's not staged, but it's definitely...
Well, not completely, maybe, but to some degree, right? There's a general premise that is disingenuous. It seems so far. I mean,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
All right, let's roll.
All right.
Look, he just spits facts all day. That's a problem. I mean, that's not you. He's just very honest,
I mean, yeah, it's great to be honest,
Yeah.
but I think his honesty is morphed. I think the way he thinks is quite damaging, really, to him. Not just to women, but to himself. Like, you're never really going to find true happiness. I mean, this is bad. I'm talking about another man on our date. I'm really sorry.
Yeah, this is a red flag.
I'm really sorry. I actually prefer him a lot more. What's your red flags in a woman?
I do want to bring up something that Leroy mentioned, right? Let's talk resolution. We know the issues. So I think we were kind of lending towards this, right? It's not necessarily, and I'm not going to speak for Unreasonable Man, but for me, it's not necessarily the prescriptions, but at least making the descriptions of what is going on, why, how, where, breaking it down. And as a general point, I think that what we were speaking of earlier, kind of shaming poor conduct and breaking it down as to, look, when you take the snake oil and you remove all the glitter and glam and the shine, it's just a fucking turd. And here's why.
Yeah, I like that. I like the snake oil reference, because that's kind of what it is. It's snake oil. It's just a bunch of crap, right? I mean, realistically, and from my point of view, I feel like that all of this, it's so fake that people will buy into it because it just has to be real, right? Like it can't be. It's so fake that it can't be fake. Do you understand what? Does that make sense?
Like it's so contrived that it must be organic. Like
Right.
it went so far around. No, I get what you mean. Yeah.
And it's so we have this idea that, and one of the things that they never really talk about is this idea that that you have feminists, and then you have the patriarchy, and what is the patriarchy, and I'm of course, I don't know if you guys ever paid attention to my TTS, but I'm all about the patriarchy, right? Because the patriarchy values women, and
Yeah.
the thing that I don't get here at all
And protects.
I've never gotten that they value women. To them, every woman is nothing but a, a sex toy that can occasionally produce offspring.
Right. They're
I
they're masturbating inside women. I mean,
Yeah,
making it kind of crude, but to
yeah.
the point of, yeah,
No, that's I think that's accurate. I really do believe that that's accurate, and I think that and it's not just them. There are several creators that even when they claim they're feminists, they still do not actually value women.
right.
They they're and what I and this is something I really dislike. I think that we really need to understand it that women are valuable things, and we need to take care of them,
Things.
and we need
No.
to. Well, I
I mean, but no, no,
yeah,
I'm
no, I
with
get
you.
it.
And when we
Look, women are
value
valuable,
something, we protect it, and we're not protecting them right now, and
right?
protecting them from themselves, which is part of the protection, more so for children, right? Even more so of a duty to protect children from their, kind of childish desires that a lot of times, right? I want to go into the candy shop and eat all the candy. If you let the kid do that, or if you let them dig into it, they're going to hate it at the end of the day. But in the moment, they think it's what they want. And to some degree, I look at women in a similar but different, right, somewhere in between men and children, of we have a responsibility to protect them and from themselves to some degree. And of course,
Sure.
the extremist is, well, you're saying that women are slaves and they don't think for themselves. I'm not saying that. I said to a degree. And we're not doing it when we break down, I guess, what we'll roughly refer to, for me anyways, the patriarchy, and instead move into the narrative of feminism is like, look, let kids do whatever they want. They're grown adults. I know it's not about kids, but just in the extreme example, you think about it and it's like, what? We're letting kids run wild? It's halfway as dumb when we allow women to run wild, right? If we let them lead, if we let them drive the bus, they're going to drive it off a fucking cliff. And then we'll be like, oh, but we gave them what they wanted. So that's good.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, so that's all good stuff, man. I think that so I think that women can be leaders. However,
Can be.
in the
Sure.
home, in the home, I think there's a dynamic in a relationship that it can only go one of two ways. When it goes where the generically when it goes where the male is the masculine one and does manly things and does does just normal shit, what I consider normal shit. Then the woman feels protected, she feels safe, she feels, I guess you could say, empowered. I don't know. I hate using that word, but I guess that's might be okay. I don't know. And she is given the freedom to be herself because the
Right.
man provides that, right?
Right. The freedom to be a woman, to be herself as
Yeah.
a woman, rather than
Yes.
I have an obligation to act like a man, so I better act like a man and compete with men in masculine pursuit, is like you're trying to fit a square into a round hole, right? Or whatever the
Right.
case. Can you do it? It's possible, but why would you want to?
Yeah. It's just it is a balancing act, and not everybody gets it right. And I
Sure.
100% understand how bad it can be, right? I get it. Okay. I'm not stupid. I understand it. I get it. But at the end of the day, everything else doesn't work. Okay. You'll never see a reformed 304 in a successful relationship. There's too much toxicity. Men will not accept it, and if they do accept it, they're not really men. They're just going along with it because they either want sex or the woman has a lot of money and they want access to the money or whatever it is. And again, we got to deal with that reality thing again. We got to
Right. Back
get
to reality.
back to reality, back to get pull us out of the delusion zone And at that point, what you really have is you don't have a relationship. You have a man using a woman in a way that women were really not designed to be used, but often are. And it
Right.
destroys both of them.
Right. The selves, the inner selves of the man and of the woman. Right. And when, not to get too deep into this, but when you look at how we are polar opposite innately in many ways, that we're very different, and we look at that as a bad thing societally, what do we end up with, right? When we take men and women, however it be, and we kind of equalize them, right? This idea of we're all equal. Well, I say eventually this turns into we're all fucking unis. And at that point, we're extinct. I mean, this is kind of going to an extreme, but the point is, instead of taking satisfaction, being at peace with being ourselves, being true to us as humans, whether man being true to himself as man or woman as woman, the further we get away from that and we're like, oh no, I'm supposed to fit in this other box that I don't innately desire to do, but I'm going to do it because I feel the societal pressure, the peer pressure. I'm looking at the leaders that I have and they're saying go for it, right? The herd mentality. We end up with 2024,
Yeah, no. I mean, it's pretty fucking accurate, really. I mean, you can't, you can debate very small points, but overall, I think the accuracy is there, right? Like it is true. And I think the feminists are, what's encouraging is I think the feminists are losing ground rapidly, daily. They know they're losing the ground. Everything that they've touched, everything they've tried has crumbled into dust or burned up or gone up in flames. So, at this point, at this point, we're at a very critical point. My personal feeling is we're at a very critical point. We have guys like Fresh here that's selling something that's not good for consumption
for men or women at that, or children, right? I mean, at the end of the day.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's not good for consumption for anyone. And he is detracting. He not him personally, but people like him are detracting from the overall message that should be getting out there to all women, to everyone, and really being talked to, really being spoken about, and moving back to not just more traditional lifestyles, but more godly lifestyles, more selfless lifestyles. All of the things, like all of the things that are good, we need to move back to that. Some of that's happening, but guys like the problem is that his message gets out there.
Right.
People will watch this video and think this is how I'm going to navigate 2024.
Right.
And that's a problem. That's a real problem. And the delusion that it enables is bad for everybody. There's no upside. There's no good. So what do you do about that? I mean, honestly, I don't think you can do anything.
We make shaming popular again, right?
We make shaming a thing. Shaming needs to be a thing. All right, let's tee it up.
Let's say she's traveling the world. It's like, who's paying for that? Let's say she's like always in the club, always like going out. What's the issue? Like, are you looking for validation elsewhere other than your man? Like, I don't know. That's kind of like a red flag.
Well, she's really good at finding online deals.
What if she's not though?
Why can't we look at the best possible scenario instead of the worst?
I think if you lower your expectations at the beginning, it's better because at least at that point you don't get hurt. You know what I mean? Like, you lower at the beginning, and if it turns differently, then you win.
So you just expect everyone's trash?
I expect the worst first, like I said before.
So everyone can just impress you?
Pretty much. There's a song by Skeptical called Energy. She's feeling my energy, 100%.
Anyone can win you over?
Again, I like to point out how much of this is I'm feeding off of how she feels, how I perceive she feels, and it totally goes against me being my own point of origin. Me pursuing again, being a good, strong man, which I think are synonymous.
Man, it just sounded toxic as all hell, man. It really did. Like it was
It's
like
unreal.
it's like why would you say that shit? Like that's I don't know. This is why I can't watch this show, man. This right here.
Yeah.
I can't take anything they say seriously at all.
No,
Sorry.
I'm with you. Nah.
Really?
No. What I'm saying is that like, if I lower my like, I want to say, hopes at the very beginning, then if it happens to be better, then I'm good.
But most people will probably be better than down here.
I don't think so.
Really?
People are not as good as they seem.
Oh, that's really sad. So you've not had a great experience with women?
No, always.
Not always.
Never been hurt. Also
Never
had a
been
great time.
heartbroken?
No, never.
Why? Have you ever been in like a deep, loving relationship?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I think so.
How long? I think so.
1 year.
Okay, so no.
I just enjoyed the moment. Like, I enjoyed the experience. And
You know what's funny, and I just thought of this, but I almost think, and maybe this will be oversimplified, but I was thinking a little bit deeper that, he's almost, instead of courting her, it's almost like he's more so incidentally trying to court the male audience watching.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
I mean,
Like-
it's a strange way of looking at it, but that's kind of what I'm seeing.
Yeah, no kidding, man. I mean, it was pretty fucked up, man. It's
I've
It's
never
really
been
like
hurt. I'm the
It's
strong
really
alpha
like
man.
he's
No one can hurt me.
making it up as he goes along.
Right, he's molding like a fucking chameleon. And that to me is not being within your own manhood, whatever we want to put it, masculine, being a man, being a good man, strong man. Right? I'm going to be a chameleon to this woman because I really, really fucking care about her perception of me. Beyond the bounds of my own self. So I'm putting her, in a sense, on a pedestal. Even though I'll preach, don't do that. And I've never been hurt by a woman, right? That's what he's saying.
Yeah.
And yet, he's acting like, kind of interestingly, they'll say to them, some of the women kick back and be like, who hurt you? And in some ways, it seemed like rhetoric. But when you really think about it, I think it makes a valid point. Because you don't seem scarred up. You seem damaged when your access to women is reliant on you being a chameleon to what your perception of her perception of you is. I don't see that as something to aspire to in any way for young men or older men,
Yeah, I
whatever the
agree with
case.
I go with that. None of it makes any sense to me. I mean, like literally everything he's doing is total snake oil salesman. It's total like used car dealer. Like I see this. I mean, I told you, man, this is just like the lowest, right? Like this is not. There's for anyone to watch this and think that this is good is shocking to me.
Well, yeah, but with that said, let's do a little bit of pushback. There are men probably watching this who they kind of agree with where we're coming from, and if they were to hear us out, would be like, okay, this makes sense, this makes sense. However, there are parts that could be read into, like, I whatever, I don't know, I like how he's gaming her, whatever the case. And I guess what I would intend to do is not push those people who are kind of on the fence so far away that they're not going to hear what we say, right? Because it's not as if everything he's doing is wrong and it's all bullshit, but you and I look at it and you're like, yo, this is mostly bullshit. You're selling sleeves and putting a gold bow tie on it to dress it up a little bit, but it's still shit.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that what I'm seeing from him is pretty bad, and I think that anybody that popped into the video and watched it with this video, unless they just grab something from out, just a little 10-second clip or something, I think that I would find it hard to believe that we were being too hard on him. Honestly, I don't think I'm being hard enough. I'm just trying to hold it back because.
Yeah, no, I get it. Well, I agree with that too. Yeah.
I mean, first of all, again, I have a lot of I just don't like. I just don't like their methodology. I don't, and it's, again, it's simply that I don't agree with it. It's not even that. It's really not even that that I care that they're putting their message out there, right? Like everybody's putting a message out there, dude. I mean, it every day,
Correct. Yeah.
and a lot of it I don't agree with, right? Like and they're people push back against me, I push back against them. I mean, it's all good, We're all, as long as we're kind of going in the same direction, I'm cool, right? Like as long as we're all talking about, that we need to be more godly, that we need to value women more in the right way.
Right.
Okay,
Correctly. Yeah. I'm
yeah,
with
if we're
you.
going to value women correctly, men are going to be valued correctly. I have a real problem
Exactly.
with the way men are just not valued, and they're just basically disposable in current society. Um, the I think that there's a lot of stuff out there that needs to be said and is being said, and even if we don't agree, we can kind of come to we're all going the same direction. But then you have these guys who are more interested in the grifting aspect of it, right? They're trying to get something from people by
Attention, money, clout,
they're
fame.
motivated by which, hey, look, I've I have no problem being motivated by money. I am strongly motivated by money. Less so now. I'm retired, so at this point, kind of a moot point. But
Well, I'm just saying the
yeah,
combination of those things, right, makes for kind of a mixture that is just not virtuous. It's not in the best interest of society. So I almost see it as a duty for me, for us to have these conversations, to
yeah,
look, dissect, break down. Because if this is a little impact that maybe gets somebody who's on the fence, an actual fence sitter, to say, hey, this is all starting to make sense, right? If we open up a door for said person, even if it's one man today or whatever the case, then I think we did a benefit to society.
sure. Yeah, I mean,
Because
I go with that.
you don't need to see everything the way that I see it, right? I'm not telling anyone what to do, but meanwhile, like we talked about, when the bill comes, you got to pay it, and don't make no mistake. Fresh, just like me, you, anyone in this world, he gonna pay. We all are gonna pay. Do you
Yeah,
want to pay that bill once it comes in?
yeah. I mean, again, I like I said earlier, the butcher's bill always comes due. It always does. There's no escaping it. So, yep.
And if it doesn't go well, then it was just like not meant to be.
He's definitely a little bit of a player. Do you think you're at a stage in life where you're ready to settle?
100%.
So you're looking for a wife.
One day,
How soon into a relationship do you think you could propose to a woman?
I need at least like 2 to 4 years at least.
Okay.
Because time will tell someone's actual character, and you don't see it up front.
I had a few men say that the first time you meet a woman, you can know.
I'll say the first 3 months.
The first 3 months. So
'Cause
there's never been an initial meet, and you're like, wow, I would marry you.
There's like obviously attraction, and there's like genuine connection. That's very important. You can see that at the very beginning.
Yeah.
But it's like, can you maintain that over a period of time? Because people can always put up a good front, but let's be honest here. Like the first time you meet somebody, they're gonna put their best character forward.
Yeah.
After that, it's like, let me see who you really are.
Yeah, fair.
So, right, he did say some things that are true, some things that we were already talking about, taking your time. However, I heard a couple conflicts in there, at least how I interpreted it. Right, he's saying, oh, I need 2 to 4 years to decide if I'm going to marry her. Whatever. Take that with a grain of salt. But I think what he's really saying is, I want to make you think this is possible, but it's not possible. Not with me. But here's the dangling bait. At the same time, I think he said, within 3 months, I know if she's marriage material. I think that was the context, which kind of
Yeah.
goes against what he's saying about 2 to 4 years. And again, I'm looking for the cognitive dissonance in
Yeah.
terms
It's
of
all.
where does your reality and words not align? And people telling themselves the truth always comes out.
He's full of crap there. So number one, if you're over if you're over your mid 20s and it takes you longer than maybe a year to get married, there's a problem there, and you're probably and that marriage is probably going to fail. because you should know what you want. You should be able to. You should be an adult enough to understand when someone's lying to you, or putting on. I mean, he gave himself the out, right? Well, we 3 months is when it starts getting real, right? So he can at that point he can do pretty much whatever he wants to for that 3 months, and then he go, oh, but I'm sorry, I was just putting up a little bit of a front. It's okay. I'm really this way, and
Right.
he
Yeah.
gives himself that out. He builds in that excuse. I personally believe differently, and I've always thought that people who do the long drawn out engagements and the long drawn out courtships, what they're really doing is they're giving themselves an out. They're basically like they're playing the long con. They just keep them dangling, keep them on the rail, and then
Right.
if
The
it
bait.
goes
Yeah.
yeah sideways, you cut bait, and then done, and it's
Yes.
and you move on. Whereas you know you get like I got when I decided to get married, I was married within a year. Like I just basically said, okay, I'm 34 years old. I'm going to get married. I've played around enough. There's something missing in my life. I need to get married. It took me it probably took me 3 or 4 months of actively dating and looking to find like the potential. And then it took me a little while to make sure that was the one, and then bam, done. And 18 years in, everything's, it's exactly, the way it is. But what I will tell you is I think people push this bullshit because nobody wants to put work into a marriage, and marriage is a lot of work. And that's just why these long drawn out engagements are I guess stylish, because if it doesn't work, you can just pull a ripcord and you're gone, and there's no, maybe you got bills in the same name. That's it. And you don't have to put the work in. But if you get married, you've made that commitment before yourself and God and everybody else, and that means if you are me, you have to put in the work to make it work. So if you have an argument, you solve it. If your wife doesn't like what you do for a living, you sort it out. If you don't like what your wife is doing, you sort it out. And I think we're way too easy to pull the ripcord, and it starts in dating. People always give themselves an out. Well, 3 months, that's when the honeymoon period is over. So then I get to see the real you, or you get to see the real me. A 4 year, 2 to 4 year engagement, because that's how I get to really know who you are. We could spend all this quality time together, and that none of that's accurate. I
So,
don't think.
so I'm gonna hit on this a little bit,
Sure.
and I don't want to.
A
I'm
lot of
not
people
outing any.
disagree with me on
Well, I'm just gonna give you an example, right? I even have some. Your mileage will vary, right, or may
that.
vary. So I don't know if it's a year or whatever, but I do see his kind of game that he's playing with words here and the perception he's trying to, put off. But anyways, I just thought this story would be interesting, kind of a quick one. But I knew man and woman, early 30s, and they had been engaged for 7 years, right? Long time. And
Hmm.
during that 7 years, they had a couple kids, and all engaged all this time. And it's funny, I would see them sometimes. Again, I don't want to make it too personal, but I remember one day I saw them, and some events had happened that weren't directly related to their relationship, but that involved them. And I said, "She's about to leave him." And the people around me that knew them were kind of like, "What are you talking about? Like, like, where are
They're
you getting
together
this
all the
from?"
time.
Right. And I just kind of called it. And I mean, there was some reasons, but I just said things that people wouldn't see unless they were looking carefully. And I'm not in their
Hmm.
business, but the point is the actions that were being displayed, the kind of dynamic that you can see. And through my own experiences that were, kind of tough at times previous to, it led me to that greater understanding. So, anyways, it was like a week or two later, I hear, and this is out of nowhere. Everyone is like, "Oh my God!" But she calls the cops on him. this whole scene, he's kicked out of the house. Next thing you know, she moves in with a new dude who's now playing papa to the two children that they had during their 7-year engagement. He's out of the picture, family court. He just gets put in a box, gives up. I mean, I don't know the rest of the story, but this was all within like a couple months of that kind of 7-year anniversary of engagement. So anyways, maybe somewhat to your point, it is an anecdotal experience, but it's also not that uncommon. I mean, it's
It
not like,
jives
oh, this
with
is
everything I've ever seen.
right.
It jives literally with everything I've ever seen. When I was, and this actually goes back like 40 years to, I was at one of the staff at my school. He had been engaged to this girl for like 5 years. I think they dated all through high school. They got engaged when he turned 18. He was like 25, 26. He was a staff at the military school I went to. And top dude. I mean, literally, like this dude, he'd been all he could be, and in the army, and
Yeah, he did the army motto. Okay.
he did the whole thing, man. This dude, he did everything he could do, and he thought he had a great relationship, great life,
Right.
and same deal. He came home one day, all of his crap was thrown out literally it was stacked in the garage with
Yeah.
a note on the door. Locks are changed. All your stuff's there.
Yeah.
Get out.
Yeah.
And he went from being a really happy-go-lucky
Yeah.
dude
Yeah.
to just a kind of bitter dude for about 2 or 3 until I graduated. And
Mm.
you know, and I mean, over and over and over again, I've seen this where I'm really anti-long abortion. Engagement.
Yeah. No, I
I
got
can't
you.
even talk. Um,
The long
I'm really
abortion.
anti-long engagement because it's just an excuse to not be in a commitment. Either you're in love and you want to get married and you want to be a family and you understand what that means, or you want to play house for a little while, and if it ever goes bad, you want to be able to pull a ripcord and just
You want to have your cake and eat it
and eat
too.
it too. That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. See, we're bringing
Yeah,
it back.
and it's a lot of delusion, man. It's a lot. Guys will tell themselves, like, I've had friends of mine who've had long engagements. I'm like, dude, what is going on? Well, she's just not ready. She wants her perfect dress. She wants this. She wants that. And this. I'm
Ooh.
like, dude, this is all bullshit. Like, you need
Yeah.
to get
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
Like,
These are
get out
signals.
now.
These are signals to get the fuck out. That's
Yeah,
what it is.
read the room, bro.
So this is where I'm coming from when men, and I've been in this position in my younger years where I'm mad at woman did XYZ, and here's my point to my younger self, right, to younger brothers, is you know the risk. You know what can go wrong and how bad it can go. If you're saying it can't happen to me, you're delusional. You must know that it can happen to you. Now, with that said, if you're not to live in fear, then that means facing the truth, the harsh realities, the uncomfortable truths, and using good discretion and judgment as a man, right? So by doing that and not living in a place like we were talking about earlier, desperation, fear, this sort of thing, we avoid these unnecessary hardships and thereby the hardships potentially of children that we then bring into this dysfunctional relationship.
So I have this really old, to me. I mean, apparently I made it up, and I thought I got it from somewhere, but apparently I made this up. But it is: fear is the spare change that keeps you broke.
Yeah.
If you carry around that fear around in your pocket every day like a
Yeah.
quarter, and it's always there, you'll never go anywhere. You'll never gain anything. You'll always be broke. If you take that fear out of your pocket and you leave it on the shelf in the morning and you just say, hey, you know what? Today,
Yeah.
I don't have that fear. I'm not going to do it. Today is the day. And the next day you do the same thing. You can do it, a little at a time. You can do it once a week for whatever, I'm going to be badass today. Tomorrow I go back to being milquetoast. But today I got a set of balls. And you can do that as a dude and make your life better. And women
So
have the same
so
thing. Women have a lot
steps.
of fear in them. Yeah.
So, I mean, baby step, not that it has to be baby steps, but right, taking steps in the right direction for you, and then in the long term, right, for your lineage, your children, your
Mhm.
grandchildren, the generations to come, the decisions that we make, I think society wants to tell us, oh, you do you. Oh, that's just today. But the truth is, they will affect the world in some sense forever. Now, maybe it's minorly, but maybe it's majorly. So whether it's good or bad, we're going to have an impact.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
right, so I aspire that the better that men are doing, right, to do good, do the hard things, right, face our fears, that we are improving by doing that. Whether it's just the group of us, right, in literally on this video, in the channels, watching Andrew Wilson, whatever the case, right, we do have good leaders out there who are promoting good messaging. And the more of that we have, and the less of the degeneracy, or the more that we're shaming it and making that not cool, right, so to speak, I mean, societally, that we will see better results. It just is. I don't care how it comes or what it looks like. We're going to see results from our work.
Right. Well, we all have fear, right? We
Yeah.
all live with that, and we live with it every day. But the thing is you can't carry it around with you in your pocket.
Yeah.
You got to get rid of it, and it works the same for women. But if you're, and I've literally seen dudes that they're afraid to break up with their girlfriend because they think that they'll never have another girlfriend, or
Yeah.
that they were lucky to get that one, and they'll never have one as good again. And I'm like, dude, understand that there's always as good or better, and usually in stock. And so just calm down. I tell my son this. My son's going to be pretty warped, man. But I tell my son this. I'm like, don't get all wrapped up in it has to be this girl, this singular one.
Hmm.
I promise you, there's 100 of her in the world, and one of them will find you. Now, my personal belief is that you only get so many chances at real, true love. And if you find them and you burn them, or you stay with the wrong person too long and you never get to that person, then you're screwed. That's why you've got to have good disqualifiers. You've got to
Yeah.
listen to those disqualifiers, and be intentional.
Yeah.
Not scientific, but intentional. I'm sorry. Let's get back to the video, man. Let's roll.
Right. No, I mean, that was all great points. And this is what we need more talk about. That's exactly why we're doing it.
Fair. But I feel like I'm always me from the start, because then I can't disappoint you. If you like me, then you're going to love me, because I can only get better. And then there's no disappointment. There's no, oh, she's great and she's just going to get worse. I feel like everyone should just be authentically themselves, and then there's no confusion.
That sounds good to me. But let's see if it's real though.
So do you date more than one person at the same time?
No.
No.
But if I'm single, I mean,
So you think whilst you are dating it, you can go and date other people?
I think if there's not like a clear line where like I'm actually your man, then I can do what I want.
So if you were dating me, yeah, because we are, and I was dating other men, would you be comfortable with that?
I mean, you better not tell me, because I don't want to know that. Because if I do know, then I'm like good.
What? So you're saying what you don't know won't hurt you?
Because I'm going to be your best option though, so why would you want somebody else?
But I'm going to be your best option, so really and truly we should sack everyone else
But
off.
how would I know?
How would I know?
If we're dating, right, and I'm dating you,
We are, yeah.
you're going to see up front all the value that I bring to you. Mm-hmm. You know what? This guy's
Lot there to unpack, bro. A whole lot.
My bad. I think my thing disconnected. Hold on 1 second.
That's all right.
No, it's here. Hold on. I can't hear you. I don't know what the hell happened. Give me a second.
guy's like he's him.
Yeah.
He's that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, damn. I didn't even pause it. My bad. My earphone went out. Anyways.
That's all right, man.
Yeah.
Well, lot there to unpack, bro. A lot. I mean, first, her saying that if you like her, you're gonna love her. That's crazy. And then him dancing around that subject of if they're dating, is he dating one person? Um, is that's just that's pretty fucked up, man. I got to be honest. I mean, we already talked about it earlier, but for him to just come out and say it is that's pretty fucked up.
Yeah, well, that is what he's promoting, I guess.
Yeah,
But
I
you, I'm
mean,
like, your character has to go over a period of time for me to see who you are. That's what I think.
He's looking into my soul. But you know yourself. To me, you're just a stranger who's got great energy. That could just been a great day for you. You just had a great day. You've been in the gym.
But let's
your
be
energy's
honest
high.
here. Can people actually have a good energy? Most people, do they have that?
No, they
Yeah.
don't. So that means you're a great person. You have a great aura, but that doesn't mean that you'd be a great partner. You know?
Time will tell.
Time will tell.
Well, beyond being kind of corny there, yeah, I mean, I still see him feeding her a lot of what he believes she wants to hear. He's looking to kind of pull out gaming tricks. And again, my issue is the inauthenticity, right? The idea of
yeah,
it's so important that I conform to her judgment values of me. And that's just not being one with yourself, no matter how you break it down. Right? It's for the show, publicity, but you're agreeing to it. You're doing it. You're promoting it.
yeah, a lot of talk. I mean, there's a lot of just really talking points, I guess. Or he's just like hitting a list. You know what I'm saying? Like
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean,
he's just hitting a list, and 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 she was buying into it. She's like, "Oh, he's staring into my soul." I'm like, "What the hell?"
yeah,
Like
yeah.
these are literally like this is like he's probably got this on his phone. He's probably sitting there like this. He's like,
Right.
okay,
Check.
you know?
Yeah. Nah.
Check. Box number 3, check.
Right. Nah. It's cringy. I'll give him that.
Do you enjoy the fame?
You know, it's funny. I'd rather be in the background. I feel like Myron's more like out there, more like the person that's like seen.
That's a bit of an understatement.
I'll tell you this, man. She'll never forget Myron. I'm more like in the shadows, kind of trying to like make things happen for the podcast, you know?
How do you handle the fame? Like when you're out and about and people come up to you, do you like it? Do you not enjoy it?
I show everyone love, but it's more like the girls though, because sometimes it's like they'll see a clip and be like, oh, I'm gonna judge you off of that alone.
Oh, 100%.
But then they're
I
like,
get
oh,
that.
wait, hold on, you're actually cool, you have good energy, good vibes. It's like, okay, you're a little bit different.
Do you meet a lot of women through them being a fan of you?
No.
No?
I would argue like it's the opposite.
Oh.
Like I meet a lot of guys, pause, through being fans, but girls is like, ew, you're on that podcast that hates women, which we don't, by the way, but it's just like, that's the perception.
He hates.
Well, I mean, look on that, and I know we were talking about this earlier, but I mean, I think that's pretty real in a sense. They're not, they're not looking to be protectors of women, and I'm not talking about white knighting and protect all women from all things, but I'm just saying in a general sense, they're kind of disposing of women, right? They're running through them. I mean, that's what they're purporting, anyways. That's what they would say. Right, I got a body count over 1,000. Right, I'm counting it. I got a fucking list. Wow. Anyways,
I mean, this is just so I mean, it's so much trash, man. It's just so bad.
yeah,
Like he's,
it's so
talk
bad
about
it's good. No, it's,
like yeah, like I want to be in the background. The other guy's in the front. And dudes come up to me and talk to me about the pod, and we don't hate women, and yet every single show, they're they absolutely degrade women to the point that it embarrasses like everybody, and it's just degenerative, man. It's like how, look, sometimes women deserve it. Like I will go after. I will go after a 304 that's, I'll go after them on the podcast or whatever.
like the TTS or what
Yeah,
have
the
you.
TTS.
Yeah,
I'll go
yeah, I
after
got you.
them, but I'm going after their behavior, or I'm going after something they specifically said.
Right.
I'm not trying to belittle them and, as a as a person generally. Now, some of them deserve, I look, I'm no saint, man. I get
I
into
feel you. I've gone too far with women at times. At this point, what I mean by that is, at this point, I relatively will not shame women to the level of men in a similar scenario, right?
yes,
But at some point, I didn't even realize I was really in my younger years looking at things through the societal hardware, the glasses, looking
hmm
at egalitarianism, like, well, women should be as accountable as us. And that's kind of that adolescent behavior that they display currently, which is, look, ho, you need to be accountable, right? We're
yeah,
stronger, we're better, we're faster. You can't do what we do. We're the leaders, you're the followers. However, you're going to be just as accountable.
yeah,
And it just doesn't add up, right? That is, again,
yeah, absolutely,
the cake and having it too. You're expecting them to be a woman when you want it, but to also have male, not masculine as they would put it, but male attributes, like manly attributes of accountability, responsibility. And so if I'm to follow the way that I look at things, right, in sort of a pathway of men, women, children, then women just can't be as accountable. It doesn't mean they're not accountable, but my point is, when I see a woman who's fucked up, right? You and I might agree this woman is, geez, man, stay away from her. I would then look at, I think we all do innately, but the programming is telling us not to, what or where, how, when the father fucked up, right? The older brothers didn't do their duty, right? There is an implication on men generally for that woman to a degree. Again, not totally. I'm
yeah.
not saying like, oh, she
I
murdered,
used
put the
to,
dad in.
I used to, and I used to really blame fathers for a lot of that, and I still, and look, they're definitely not blameless now, but I honestly, it is the schools, it's the teachers, it's the fact that women can do no wrong in school.
Right,
If
but
you,
as father, if you know that, then your discretion maybe tells you, for instance, I'm not saying this is the answer, but I'm not sending my daughter to that school. Maybe it's
yeah,
homeschool, maybe
I
it's not, maybe it's a private school, but my point is the
mean,
ultimate accountability still lies on father. If the answer is, well, I don't have money to do that, then that's a resource issue, right? And I'm not
right,
saying like, oh, ostracize him, he's a garbage father, but what I'm saying is the ultimate responsibility, accountability comes on men, me, you, us. And if we at
yeah,
least accept that, and again, this is how I see it, if we
yeah,
accept that, we can do something about it. But when we just blame, and I'm not saying you are, but I think they do, or at least they purport to, it's feminism's fault, right? We need to make these women accountable. That shit ain't going to work. They are going to follow by the lead, and right now it's a bad lead. It's a poor lead.
well, I mean, I've just seen so many, and I'm sure that we've all seen really good young women poisoned against their fathers and their mothers by the school systems and their friends and the
Agreed.
internet and their it's environmental. So I would normally agree that it is completely family unit, right? Like I used to completely agree with that 100%. I'd be completely on board. But having now had children in school, and actually my son was in school in California for a while in public school, and it was hilarious and horrible at the same time. Um, I now I'm going to tell you it's as much environmental for women now,
Well, no, I
and
agree
it's
with you. I'm
so
just talking about the
toxic.
fathers have a duty to that
Oh yeah,
environment.
yeah, they
You know
do,
what I'm
they
saying?
do.
Like to protect their daughters from that environment. Excuse me. Knowing what you know and what we're discussing, if we
Yeah,
understand that, if we believe that as truth, then it's up to us ultimately, right? I'm not saying it's 100% binary. Oh, just blame all men for all women.
right,
I am.
right.
I am just saying though that generally we are leading. And when we're
Yeah,
leading the schools, right, from the paradigm of the man is in power, I mean, ultimately enforcing the rules, enforcing the laws, whether it be pushing through feminism. I know we're going deeper on this, but I'm just looking at the
yeah,
ultimate accountability is on us, right, to be the change that we want to see. So to Leroy's question, building back on that, how do we solve it? It starts here, right? It starts
Yeah.
within. And as we do that, we promote it, whether directly or indirectly.
So I agree a lot, but I'm gonna say that as much as we can, as much as the environmentals have changed, that fathers need backup more than ever. I think that men need to. I don't know what the right. I really don't know the right expression here, right? Like
I'm thinking strong men community, like in a sense, whether
yeah. I
it
mean, you
be,
need that too, but it's so brutal right now,
yeah,
um, with all of the laws against men.
I agree.
What men can and cannot do, and this has been, unfortunately, this war has been, and we're kind of going down a little bit of a pipeline here, but this war has been going on so long, and so many men believe it's their fault, but they can't do anything, right? Like it's my fault, but I can't do anything.
I'm helpless, but
I'm helpless,
but
and
I feel
every time
guilty.
I try and help, I get my knees cut out from under me, right? Like,
Yeah,
and where do I turn? And we've gotten so far away from the various churches. Even the churches have gotten so, I really hate to use a term, but woke to the point that they don't even teach about hellfire and brimstone anymore. They don't teach about sin. They don't teach about going to hell. We talked about that a little bit earlier. I mean,
whoa, 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 whoa. Do you want to hurt people's feelings?
yeah, I believe that we need to hurt some feelings, and I
Yeah,
and I really believe that we've gotten this. But I mean, it's not a perfect storm, but it's a cascading storm of, you have society telling these girls in every waking minute of their day that they can be a bad bitch all they want,
right.
and then they have the
That they
schools
should,
telling them
they
that they
should be a
should,
bad
right,
bitch.
right, and then you have the schools telling them that at 12 years old that they're old enough to start taking birth control, and
I
they
knew you were going to
should,
say that. Yeah, I know.
right,
It's terrible.
at 11, 12 years old, right? So, and you have
Yeah,
the school saying that, right? Even if the dad says, fuck no, don't do it, that's my job, the
right.
school says, no, no, this is health and safety,
We're the
your
parents
opinion no
now.
longer matters.
I mean, to
So
some degree, we're the decision makers for your child now. We're the proxy parents for
yeah,
you, for your
yeah,
children, when they're with us. And you
yeah,
now lose that power, right, of being a father. Yet you will have the accountability, right? Because if something happens with things that we're promoting and doing, we're not
you
going to
go to
take the
jail.
blame. You will, right?
Yeah,
So,
you go to jail.
in a sense, what you're describing sounds aligned with slavery to some degree.
I mean, it's what we've got going on now is we've got what they're really trying to do is the replacement of the parents in the family, not just, and mothers have a lot to do with this too, but the but good strong men with good strong women backing them up should be enough. In my own life and with my son, I see it now. Matter of fact, we're moving our we hope there's room. We're moving our youngest son. I have a 3-year-old. So we're
Mm,
moving our youngest son from the current daycare that puts up um, uh, black, was it Black Pride Month? Whatever the fuck it is. Black History Month, Gay Pride Month, all this crap. They put up all of the nonsense for preschoolers, dude. Like, why the fuck is this? Why is this going on, right?
because you have to start the indoctrination early. You have to start the
Exactly.
division from day
Exactly.
one. The closer we get to day one, right? If they could go from womb to indoctrination, that's what
Yeah.
they're going to do.
They would, yeah, that's absolutely. So we're actually moving him from that preschool to a Christian preschool, to a Christian school that it is a pre-K program so that once they get old enough, they go directly from there into the kindergarten program at the Christian school. We have to do it because because it literally grates my nerves every time I walk in the building,
Right.
and it's just the dumbest thing I've ever seen. So,
Well, look,
um,
I don't hear you complaining about the price. You're talking about the price, metaphorically, if
yeah,
your child stays at what you have
yeah,
discerned, this is not a good
yeah,
environment.
yeah,
We can make this better, and therefore I'm going to make this better.
right. Well, I think I mean, we can, certainly. I think especially young men, when they look at life, they get really depressed because of how much it costs,
Yeah.
the perceived amount of money that you need to have a family, what you're told that you must do, or you're a failure as a father.
Right.
And I really feel bad for young men today because honestly, I know, I mean, I know, I've worked with young men that have had very young families, that their wives don't work, they work their ass to the bone, they take odd jobs on the side, they bought a cheap house, they
Yeah.
restored it, where they lived in a, I mean, I know I had dudes that worked for me, man, that would literally live with their family in a one bedroom apartment. It was the mom and the dad in the bedroom and the child in the living room,
Yeah.
because that's what they could afford and have a decent life.
Hmm.
And now we've got people like Fresh and Fit saying, "No, go out and buy our program, and you'll have a 6,000 square foot mansion in a year."
And a six pack, and we'll grow your dick to 6 inches. No, but
Also that, yes, also that, yeah, absolutely. And it's
yeah.
it's just crazy to consider. I mean, when you look at what people are saying, when you
Hmm.
look at what the reality versus the delusion,
Right.
the reality is that life is fucking hard, you
Right.
know. And I talk about this a lot, and I will continue to talk about this a lot. People will get sick of hearing me talk about this. Again, I grew up dirt poor. To this day, there that sticks with me in specific ways. Like, it just does. Obviously, people won't believe that because I seem to throw money around like it's water. But um,
You mean
the
TTS?
yeah, the TTS. Yeah, it's funny because that jackass earlier today was like, "You spent hundreds of dollars," and I'm like, I feel like it's thousands.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who you're referring to, but yeah, he wasn't watching long enough.
Yeah,
But look, here's the thing, right? I did this topic on,
yeah,
these are different topics that come to mind, and one
sure,
was that you vote with your money and your attention. Granted, we
absolutely,
we vote in the voting, right? We put in our ballot in the voting booth. However, we're really voting every single day with our
every
eyes and
minute.
ears and our wallets, right? So you are, or, and I don't want to speak for you, but how I would take it is that you're voting, right? You're putting in for a voice to a cause that you believe in.
Yeah,
And we can say generally the cause of family, right?
yeah,
Good relations among the U.S., like within internally, where right now, as we're describing, they're dysfunctional at best. I mean, overall.
yeah,
So
yeah. I mean,
you're doing what you can.
I've
I mean,
supported
or
Andrew's
was
podcast. I mean,
right.
I've supported Andrew. I'll give him money. Um, and I mean, I got into the TDS because there's two reasons. First, I think Brian's doing the Lord's work, right? Like, I saw the guy talking about him being a DGen and all of that today, and everybody's mad because they think that he gives OnlyFans girls a platform. Hey, I get it. I can see that point of view. I don't agree with that point of view. I think it hurts them, and I know that because they've come back on there and said, our subscriptions went down. People left us because of this program, because you exposed that. I mean, they didn't come out and say this, but I mean, I'm paraphrasing dramatically, but basically they got exposed for what they are, and the shills couldn't shill enough, and they're simps just left them, right? And it went to other. I'm sure they went to other OnlyFans girls because that's how those dudes operate.
Hmm.
But it's if you can hurt a few of them, then the message gets out and they start paying attention. Um, and I love pointing out that a man owns OnlyFans and he pays himself $1.3 million a day,
Yeah.
and he still owns the $1 billion company. That's
That's,
pretty fucking baller.
so that's like half
Like,
a billion per year, right?
yeah, something like
Roughly.
that. It's
So I'll tell
yeah,
you, not to go into this, I'll make it short, but
sure.
I didn't like Brian when I first came across the show.
A lot of
Wasn't a
people
big,
do it. Yeah.
yeah, wasn't a big fan. However, I don't have a problem with him. I don't watch it regularly, but I've seen when Andrew's been on. I've seen some other random ones, but I think if his, I don't know all his motivations. I'm not going to pretend to, but from what
Yeah.
I've seen on him over time, I don't have an issue with what he's doing. I don't necessarily see it at this point the way that you do, and maybe I shouldn't. I haven't been watching it, like I said, very often. I'm not totally familiar, but he doing his thing. I don't have an issue with him like I do
Yeah.
Fresh and Fit. That's for damn sure. I do see them as different in a lot of ways, not just superficially, but when I'm trying to see the deep down motivation and what it is actually promoting. Because granted, they are giving OnlyFans women a platform. That is a byproduct of what he does. It doesn't mean that's the intention of the show, like the main intention. But
Right.
incidentally, sure. I mean that's reality. But it
Sure.
doesn't mean it's for a bad reason. If it's for overall a good reason, and he seems to overall promote generally, good things. I mean, that's my take at this point.
I mean, Brian and I disagree on a few things, which is fine. Again,
Yeah,
it annoys me that in this space, because people will disagree on a few things, they hate each other, and
right.
they like the guy earlier today that made an ass of himself in the
I don't know what you're
crucible.
referring to, by the way. What happened in the?
So this
I
this
didn't see it.
Instagram guy who's got like 200 followers and thinks he's a badass. Apparently, it sounds like what happened is he tried to be on um, whatever, and it kind of came out that he thinks Brian is a degen because he's giving OF girls a platform, and Andrew shouldn't be on. Andrew should roast Brian because Brian is giving these whores a platform to speak, and he
Lovely horse, lovely horse.
yeah, and he's putting he's putting their pictures up, and that draws attention to them, and they shouldn't have any attention drawn to them, and all that. And he got into an argument with Mr. E, and he really didn't make a good argument. I mean, there were a couple of things he said that we could agree on, but the largest part of it he couldn't. And then when I got involved, I kind of got involved with it. He had already lost his shit. He wasn't making any sense, so I couldn't get anything out of him useful. And he ended up getting banned for a little bit, and then brought back, and then
Oh, okay, yeah. All right, so this was in the Discord.
yes, was in the Discord.
Okay, yeah. I guess I saw a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So and basically his whole deal is that Brian is enabling these girls, and to some degree that's true,
Right. Right.
but he's exposing them for what they are,
Yeah. No,
and
I
those
can see that.
go viral. Like they're like, to put it in perspective, there's no other format that exposes the OF girls for being a bunch of degenerate, stupid women
I was like
like
damaged as well, right?
and
Like
damage. Yeah,
wounded,
I was trying
whatever.
to
But
I
yeah,
was trying to be a little bit nicer, but yes, completely damaged, completely fucked up. They're fucked in the heads. And they know their lives are fucked. And there's no other platform that reaches the same number of people that his does,
yeah, right.
except
No, I
Fresh
see what
and
you're
Fit.
saying. Yeah.
Except Fresh and Fit. And so, and I mean, dude, the guy gets death threats. Like
Mm.
he's been now, not for this. A few, in the past, he was jumped, so he's a little skittish. Um, he actually he got hurt really bad. He got jumped,
Oh,
beat up pretty bad. Not now.
okay.
This is before whatever. This is for something else he did. But so he's pretty skittish. But he's had stalkers. He's gotten sued. He's gotten all of his stuff, and most of it relates to him basically making these girls look like idiots. Now, what I like about Brian that I don't like about Fresh and Fit is, first of all, he doesn't insert himself into it in the same way. Now he'll kind of make fun of him if he'll make fun of himself and say I've got a dad bod, or he'll talk about how he doesn't eat pussy. He'll do shit like that. But unlike a lot of hosts, I find the show much more watchable because I'm actually listening to what these stupid people say.
Yeah.
And I've told him multiple times that I think the show is the best and he gets the best numbers when he has three or four, degenerates, not necessarily OnlyFans girls, they can be whatever, but he gets three or four of those, a couple of kind of in the middle, and then two or three conservative, good, good girls, right?
So some contrast, right?
Some
I mean,
contrast and a dude. Without a dude to back him up, Brian, it's not that he loses control because he absolutely will step in and correct them and he'll kick them off and all of that. But the girls, the problem is the girls know Brian's arguments. So without somebody else there that they don't really, they haven't watched game film enough and they can't like plan.
mhm.
And Andrew's perfect for that because even if they watch his game film, you never know what the fuck Andrew's
Yeah,
thinking.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
so Andrew's like, I initially didn't like Andrew when he came on. I was like, he's too quiet. He just sits there,
Hmm.
three-quarters of the show, and then he finally then now he just finally wakes up, and then I really was like, yeah, I don't know about this guy, but he's figured it out and he
Yeah,
understands it, and he really he can really put them in their place very, very well.
yeah,
Again, there's no other platform with the reach that Andrew could do that on. And that's why I support it, partially because I just think it's fucking funny, right? Like, I'm just having fun. And people don't believe that I would spend that much money or spend that much time or whatever because I just find it fucking funny. But, I mean, dudes spend more at a bar than what I do.
no, I agreed. I mean, everything in context, right? People be like, "How can you do that?" And they're blowing money on bullshit every day, and it's like, well, how can
Yeah.
you do that? At least I'm doing it to a point. I mean, to your point, I'm supporting something that I want to support. I mean,
And I
a
embarrass
direct
little girls.
connection.
And I
Yeah,
embarrass those girls. And I and I they and again I believe that shaming works. I believe telling them that they're going to go to hell. Like
yeah,
they may have never heard that before, and they may never hear it again. But that one time, in front of everybody, they were told what you do is wrong, and you're going to go to hell.
yeah. I
And
mean, look, we need to hear reality.
right, I like
Uh,
reality. I live in reality. It's a nice place. It's cool. And at the end of the day, uh, the whole thing with whatever versus Fresh and Fit is Fresh and Fit hates Brian because they think he ripped them off. Now he's always said that he patterned his show after their format, but
right.
that's where it ends. He does not bring people on specifically to roast the girls, to make them feel like idiots. Not, my spies tell me that none of the girls are groped or ask for bikini pics or any of that nonsense. Like
Hmm.
it's all above board. He's running it pretty pro. And my only real criticism of the show is that it would be better if Brian would please get some help and stop micromanaging, let people help him, hire a couple more people. But
Right.
he's very afraid of losing creative control, and I understand that. And I mean, I'm not going to throw any rocks, right? Like, it is what it is.
Yeah.
But I really feel like that, at the end of the day, the show's gotten as big as it can get without that happening. That
Right.
he's gonna have to do something more, and well, I mean, he's gonna have to get better management, and he's gonna have to form a team, whatever. But at the end of the day, I mean, I'm actually, and I told Brian this, that period of time when I came in and could do all those TTS and everything, I had a lot of free time,
Hmm.
right? Like, I could stay up late, but before that, I couldn't watch the shows live. So it was like a luxury for me to watch those shows live and even watch them to the end. Now I have just the way my schedule is right now. Even though I'm retired, I'm busy as hell.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm up at like 5:30 in the morning. There's no way I can be up till 2 or 3 in the morning and function the next day. So I can get an hour in, maybe two, and I'm done for the night. And I have to watch the show like I used to, um, the next day as I'm doing shit.
Yeah.
But
No, I got you.
and I just think that I do think Brian needs to man up more. I do think Brian is. I think that because he doesn't want to color the show too much. I think he kind of holds back, and that's
Hmm.
why he needs really masculine guests.
So I agree with you very much, and I don't want to get too much into that because I want
Yeah,
to put on a couple of seconds here. I'm gonna be
yeah,
off
yeah,
camera
let's
for a
go.
minute, but
Yeah, let's go.
He hates women. You
No,
don't
he
hate
doesn't.
women. He
He
hates
has a
women.
girlfriend. So
He hates her.
no, he loves her.
Okay, well, I don't know what his
She
definition
lives
of love
good.
is.
She's happy. He's happy. You know,
Which one?
the main one.
Okay.
Shout out to her, by the way. Awesome girl. I don't know why I want to date with her. She's talking about Myron.
So it's weird because usually I like more out there men, like, the dominant, the lad, but I think I actually really prefer you're the way you are in comparison to Myron.
Really?
Yeah, I'd class you more as like an alpha. What's the saying? Like, silence, there's power in silence.
Okay.
Like, knowing who you are,
Yeah.
you don't have to speak on it. Knowing what you can achieve, you don't have to speak on it. But your energy and your aura, it just says it as soon as you walked in the room.
Appreciate that.
That is power to me.
That's love. And you know what? Touche to you as well. I feel like your energy is good, and I feel like on some level, we feel good energy. So that's
Yeah.
good.
Love that. He likes me, I can tell.
She's feeling me for sure. This girl's feeling me.
So, you seem really lovely. I
Yeah.
haven't got a fault in you yet. Do you have any toxic traits?
I actually do.
What are they?
I can be very persuasive.
Is that toxic?
Yeah.
Why? Persuasive.
oh boy, oh boy.
Yeah, I'm gonna let you cook on that one. I'm gonna be AFK for a minute myself. I gotta go check and make sure everything's going on.
All right,
Okay.
yeah. So let me
No.
read some of the comments here.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
We got Ticky Tack. Being a man is not about being tough every day. It's about being tough when the world needs you to be.
Yeah, absolutely. That's true.
Yeah, right. All right. Based insight. I
Yeah.
never thought about the actual service that Brian provides, even by allowing these women to have a platform. Yeah, no, definitely some good food for thought. Unfortunately, people are unable to recognize the amount of work that goes into the background of any company. This is why shared ownership businesses can become very toxic. Yeah, I mean, look, back to want to have our cake and eat it too, right? Want to do the really hard things, but I want them to be easy for me, right? Right, want to be considered, oh, as she put it, fresh as the alpha man. Right, he has real alpha male vibes, whatever that exactly means to her. I'm not so certain. But yeah, I thought that was an interesting, I met Myron Yu, and you're the alpha man. Definitely back to what you mentioned. I think there's a lot of scripting in here, right? This is what the
Yeah.
audience wants to see. Just lacking it's inauthentic in many ways, and I thought it was ironic that she kind of, said, "Look, you're just so real, you're so authentic," and here we are, breaking down where and how and why, that does not, his words are not matching his actions to
Yeah.
some degree. Not that he's making actions here, but just what he reports in his show, right? His actions and talking points, it's going against, there's a lot of contradiction.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's really interesting how scripted it feels. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
not in a good way. I don't know what a
Right.
good
Yeah,
way
not
would
in a
be,
good
but
way.
it's just not it.
It's not that. That's for
Basically,
sure.
just suit you.
Look inside of you as a person and see what triggers you, what
I'm
doesn't.
gonna be
And kinda like
AFK for a
Manipulate
second.
it.
push things
Solution.
along. No, manipulate. Just push things along a certain path, you know?
To benefit you.
No, all of us together.
Okay,
Because
so-
if I win, you win.
Okay, I can understand how that can be toxic.
What about you? Do you have any toxic traits?
Do you know what people are going to say? It's not that toxic, but it is toxic. I'm too much of a giver.
You can't use that one. That's
Yes,
not,
I can.
How?
Because it's been the most toxic.
You know what's kind of funny here, right? As I'm looking at it, that she's really gaming him and telling him what he wants to hear. If we're to read this as real, right? It's a reality show. This is all authentic. If we're to buy into that, and they're meaning what they say, which I have great doubts about. But with that, she's really gaming him in the same ways that he's trying to game her. And when you think about it, just remove yourself. Obviously, we're not there, but they want you to perceive that you're him, or if it's the woman, that she's her. That they're two people being inauthentic to each other on a date, talking about how each of them is so authentic. Yeah.
Toxic thing that I've ever done in my life. That's about me.
How does giving make you toxic?
Because you don't have a limit and it becomes very toxic.
Well, hold on. For the other person, that's good. That's not bad.
No, it becomes toxic for everyone involved.
How?
Say I give you everything, like everything and everything
That's
and
great.
everything, and then one day I can't, yeah? You now are going to be like, what the fuck is going on? Because you become so used to a certain standard, so now your expectations are morphed, and then anything less than that, you become infuriated, you become frustrated,
Okay.
then it becomes toxic.
So I'm reading into this a little bit that she's almost like pre-gaslighting him. Again, I'm just going off the words, interpreting them. But look, if you feel like, this is kind of what she's saying ahead of time. If you feel like into the relationship that I'm not giving on the level that you perceive me giving on in the beginning, it's not because I changed. It's because you have a problem.
Toxic, and then I feel like, whoa, you're taking too much, because when I'm having a day off, but it's my own fault because I set that standard. It's toxic.
Give me an example of that happening,
Okay.
like in real time.
So I was with someone for a long time, like 5 years, and I don't.
So, Lewis, I think this is a valid point. I won't say what I know anyone has in their mind, right? But looking at the actions, looking at the words, I would agree with you that Brian seems to want people to do better. That is his messaging, and generally, he seems pretty aligned with it. Again, this is my perspective. I'm not a Brian expert, but whereas F&F, they're really promoting the same thing that they're, on one hand, outcasting, and on the other hand, they're promoting it and indulging in it. It's like, I hate cherry pie, and I'm going to keep eating it. It doesn't make any sense. Leroy, this is like they're both auditioning, and just by chance they're both pretentious as fuck. Yeah, I mean, that's, I don't know if it's by chance or coordinated, but either way, yes, sir.
Don't know how to be a girlfriend, yeah? If we're
You don't?
No. If we're together, I am your wife, I'm your best friend, I'm your business partner, I'm whatever you need me to be from day one. From the day we say we're together, I want you to move into my house.
So maybe this is, just a turn of words, but you are not my best friend. My best friend is my best friend, and he's not a woman. With that, I get it. Women, it seems like they want to perceive you as their best friend. and not trying to go too deep down the word verbiage rabbit hole here, but I don't think that we're meant to be best friends. I think that if you're going to be best friends, you're going to have a problem with leadership. And I mean that for the good and the bad, just reality.
I want to cook you breakfast, I want to cook you dinner, I want to do your lunches for work, yeah? I don't know how to do anything less than that. Yeah. So I got with someone, you know, he was living with me in my house, and I did everything. And because I do everything, not only was I doing his lunches and making breakfast, and if I was working too, I'd come home on my lunch break to make his lunch or his breakfast to start his day, then I'd go back to work. Or if I was working late, I'd prep all of his food, put it in tubs, you know? So, but then it got to the point where I did.
Look, I don't know if I believe that, what she's saying, but that sounds good, right? That sounds like a good audition, wifey, right? Like, she's coming home in between breaks to cook him meals, and it sounds very nurturing, sounds feminine and nice, and a value and asset to one's life. I like what she's saying. I don't know if I necessarily believe her, but yeah, sounds good. Sounds like you're giving him what he wants to hear.
Yeah. I mean, it all sounds good. Just have to see how it plays out, right?
Yeah.
I did so much that I actually was paying for all the rent and paying for all the bills and paying for her car.
So you were the provider?
I was providing and I was being the woman, and I actually don't know what he did in the relationship.
But whose fault is
It's
that?
my fault.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's my fault.
Yeah, so...
Well, you started off good there.
Yeah.
And then she went right in the toilet in the next second.
Yeah. I mean, there was a...
Started off good.
Right. She's kind of that skag that'll burn water. Yeah. Oh, geez. Right. I can make a good cereal, Captain Crunch. Nah. You know, here's one contention I'd have. Fresh. Look, maybe I'm reading into it, but that's the idea: is to read into what we are hearing, not just blindly accept. So when he says, "Whose fault is that?" Look, if we're to take men at face value as the leaders, you know, it sounds like from what she's describing, she allowed herself, right, to a degree as a human being, as a woman, to be led by a less than worthy man. Again, just hearing what she's describing, I was paying for all his bills, he's living with me, and I'm coming home on breaks to cook for him. I mean, that... now, here's the other thing. This all doesn't add up. Right? She's saying, I don't even know what he did. It sounds like quite a bit is being left out. This is woman's version of events. I think it would be very different if you heard from the man. Not saying that he'd be right and she'd be wrong, but just saying, I don't know if I'd be taking much of what she's saying, even outside of this podcast, this show, with more than a grain of salt. Because it doesn't add up. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Is it possible? Sure. Yeah, it's possible, but... You got anything on that?
Yeah, so I've seen that happen. I mean, more than a few times, where you run across somebody who has the capability of pulling, you know, a really good dude, right? Like, maybe not top shelf dude, but, you know, pretty nice. But somehow they always find themselves with a loser that uses them for everything they can soak out of them, right?
I have a theory as to why, but go on.
I mean, there's a lot of theories as to why, but I mean...
Well, yeah. I guess a simplistic one.
Yeah, simplistic one. So I've always thought of it as...
all-encompassing simplistic.
Yeah,
go on.
it's the manipulation that men are able to achieve when they come across women who are desperate to believe anything, and they just really want that validation and sense of love, and they don't actually know what love is because they don't have it, and so they'll buy whatever someone's selling. So
here's how I would put it. This is the frame I'd give it, is that when we're faced with a binary, right, we have two different types of men. Now, this is not true, but again, in this binary example, if man A is just a weak man. I mean, what we would refer to, right? He's a pushover. He gets bullied, right? This is a grown man. He's not one of himself. He's a chameleon. Just traits that we don't attribute to good virtue for a good, strong man. So we have that man A, and man B is just a dickhead in every sense, meaning he's not there to provide, protect. I mean, that's what she's saying in a way. However, he is closer in touch with himself. He is actually a dickhead. He is. He's not pretending. It's not pretentious. That's the closest that she is able to achieve, in a sense, to uh, what she's looking at as man, right? Like this is a real
Yeah.
man. So it's
Hmm.
almost like maybe this is an analogy. Any attention is good attention. Now, you and I know that's not true, but in the scale of things, whether it's negative or positive, what does the public eat up, right? Attention. Doesn't matter if it's
Hmm.
good or bad. The question is, how far did the pendulum swing, or, what is the difference from zero, whether good or bad? And I think it's a similar scenario with women ending up with bad men, toxic men, that's the closest they could get on the opposite scale, like bad attention, but that's the closest they could get to that feeling of, I have a man who's, he is his own point of origin. Turns out he's not a good man, right? Like he's not
Right.
looking out for me. He's not doing a lot of things, it sounds like, that a good man would do, providing, protecting, etc. However, he's a dickhead, and that's as close as I'm going to get.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I agree with that. I mean, that's the thing. Nobody's and a lot of times I think that you have to just kind of go with that. Nobody's ever told these women that they deserve better, or they've
Right,
been told that they deserve better, but they don't believe
right.
they deserve better. Right? Like if you can tell them that they deserve better all you want, but at the end of the day, they're they feel like that you know, they're not worth it, right?
Sure. So again, I would put this back on father, right? Let's take an extreme example. What would be a good, I mean, at the time she's a child, grows up into a good, what could have been a good woman, right? Let's say attractive, has some foundation where you're just like, look, this would be a good mother, but she's been so far corrupted. Her father, in this example, didn't give her the sense that she is worthy to find a good man. He didn't lead her down that road. And that bad programming, right, of not, and again, I don't mean the opposite of, well, I'm going to put my daughter on a pedestal and anything she wants, I'm going to give it to her. That's not what I mean. What I mean is showing her via, for example, the relationship he has with her mother, aka his wife in said scenario. If he's not leading by example in a way that's not just good for him and good for the mother, but good for the daughter as well, then she's going to grow up, again, in this binary sense of feeling that she's not good enough. She doesn't deserve a good man. Her mother didn't get a good man if he's not a good husband, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, there's so many different causes of damage. And again, we've already talked about it.
Right.
I don't,
Yeah.
I don't necessarily. I used to really lay it all at the. I mean, usually you and I would be in lockstep there, where it's like, bad dad, bad mom, bad upbringing. But it's so much more environmental now, and the reality that we have to face is that men are not being allowed to parent in the way that they should be, and so that we are seeing the consequences of that every single day. And I
Yep.
would really actually love to be able to blame just fathers for it, or lack of a father, or whatever. But the thing is I actually know women who grew up with no father in the home, with not bad mom. I mean, I honestly, I don't know any from my youth. I don't know any junkie moms. I don't know anybody that, I mean, we were poor, but I didn't know any, it just wasn't part of my world. So I can't be like those other guys and say, well, I knew this girl and her mom was a junkie and in and out of rehab and all. I didn't have that experience. But what I did have is I had the experience of fathers that were drunk or had basically abandoned the family, and maybe occasionally they come by and give them a few
Right.
bucks and then, whatever, or the dad was in jail all the time. And I know that those girls grew up and became very good women in their life because at that point in time in my upbringing, the community, the church, the schools, everybody came together to help those young women and young men too. I'm obviously focused on women here,
Right. No, I
but
get it. Yeah.
and but we've lost that. It's
I
been
understand.
cock
Yeah.
blocked. We've been cock blocked at every shot. I
Yeah.
mean, every time. So the church tries to help these women, then they're told they can't. You have women's organizations that try and help these young women in a conservative and meaningful way, and not tell them to be whores. And they're told you can't say that. You can't say that to not be a whore because that's shaming. So what do you can't do anything about it. I mean, we can obviously do things about it, but I can no longer in good faith lay the blame on the father and the mother by themselves. It's so environmental now, and until we win that war, we're never going to see it again. Now, part of winning the war is getting the mother and the fathers back in the picture and strong, and literally families being willing to go to schools, to community meetings and saying, leave my damn kids alone.
Right.
And that's, I kind of got on a pedestal there. I apologize, but it's
No.
just
No.
something that is really, really. I hear the same thing repeated. It's always the father's father, father, and it is. I mean, I'm not saying that is not the reason. I'm saying that we're not. It's not that we're seeing necessarily weak dads. We've created an environment where it doesn't matter how strong the dad is. And I actually have a really good example. I used this the other day, and I didn't name names. I'm gonna semi cloud this guy's identity. A friend of mine in Colorado, his name's Jeremy. He's a really good dude. Was in the army. His wife's a nurse, which is a red flag, but she's okay. Um, and I actually think she just stays home now. And I actually always thought there was something kind of off about this dude, and I think he was just really secretive about his life. Well, he had an ex-wife who is literally a junkie. She is literally in and out of all the recovery clinics. She never does anything bad enough to get arrested,
Hmm.
but she's always in recovery somewhere. She's always getting help from some social organization, whatever.
Habitual victim. Habitual. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. Okay.
absolutely habitual. Somehow, despite this guy, the dude rolls around in an Aston Martin in his time off. He's got, this guy has multiple houses. He's a contractor. He's been a contractor for the last 20 years. He's been in construction, and he's really done well for himself. Somehow, this woman convinced a judge to give her sole custody of his kid way back when,
Yeah.
and fought him tooth and nail. Well, that kid, when he got to be about, I want to say, this is a few years ago, so I want to say the kid was like 13. He started having problems in school. He was getting bad grades. He actually had some criminal charges against him, and he was about to fail out of school. All this stuff. Jeremy got back involved. He did the right thing. He went to the court. He spent a metric assload of his own money, and he got custody. He got full custody of this kid.
Hmm.
Since that time, in like 2 years, that kid his grades are great. Now it was rough in the beginning. I'm not gonna, don't. This wasn't an overnight thing.
It wasn't a fairy tale. It was hard work.
This isn't a fairy tale. It was rough, but now his grades are where they're supposed to be.
Hmm.
His criminal problems, he's gotten those sorted out, and now, last year I remember that Jeremy gave the kid a car that he had restored or whatever for the kid's birthday from when he turned 16, and it was something that was never going to happen before that, but because he had he had gotten back involved in the kid's life and straightened him out and shielded him from the environmental factors, right? Like there's a lot of that, but
Right. Yeah.
um, and and so
He
I have that.
protected him.
Yeah, I have that. But before that, he couldn't. If he had been a normal person without the funding, without the money, without the the drive really to make it happen, that
Right.
kid would be in jail right now, and through no fault of the father's own. Jeremy tried everything he could. He would be get so frustrated with his ex-wife
Hmm.
because he's got four other kids that are doing great. They're winning sports teams. They're on all kinds of cool stuff. So he's got these kids with his second wife that are just fucking awesome, excelling, being badass. And then he's got this his first kid is his life sucks.
Yeah.
And I know it killed him. I knew it. I know it just tore at that man's soul.
As it
And
should. I mean, in a sense. I mean, unfortunately, but yeah, no, I'm with you.
no,
Yeah.
as it should have. It should have hurt. And it if it hadn't hurt, then he may not have done what he did.
Right.
But the system, I mean, I cannot ever stress enough how truly fucked up our system is to men, and until we change it,
That's my point. Yeah, I'm with you.
we
Now
can't we
look,
can't do anything about it.
now look, I'm not going to get either of our channels banned by telling you what I really think that needs to happen.
Right? Yeah. I
we
appreciate that.
we too small to get banned. But no, look, what needs to happen is strong men doing strong things to unfuck the very problems that I agree with you on. The
Yeah.
environment, societally, we're in this position. It was led here. It can be fixed, but it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be sexy. It's going to be fucking
Well,
rough.
well, let's own this as men and say that we've ceded the raising of our children to women. That's
Yeah,
wrong. Men are better at raising children than women. We always have been. It's always been that way throughout history. Women took care of the babies. Yeah, that's true. But once that kid could walk, it was a man's job to make that boy or girl into a human being. And we've ceded that to women who have decided to fuck us, right? I mean, I'm just be honest. I
well,
love women.
in a sense, acting as I would put it, halfway in between men and children, right? With some childish prerogatives, right? Like,
Mhm.
are they adults, right? This conversation, not you and I, but I've had this on other teams where it's like you're saying that women aren't adults. I'm not saying that. Obviously, adult women are adults. That would be ridiculous to say
Sure.
they're not. However, does that mean that they are men? The answer is no. No matter how much you want to make it look like it, right? The pig in lipstick. I'm not saying that women are, but no matter how much you try to change other people's perception, it is what it is. You can put on a dress. You're still you're still a man or woman, whatever you were born as, right? Not to get into the whole transmission thing. I'm just saying.
Right. I mean, let's just be. I mean, and again, I'm not trying to. I don't want to sound like I'm super sexist or anything. I just acknowledge the truth of the matter is that men have ceded over the raising of our children to women who did a great job of it. The mothers did a great job of it, but that's when the schools were full of male teachers and they were full of some women teachers as well. But that was it was a different environment. And now what we've gotten is an entire system that is based in the feminine. Okay, now I'm not saying that women created it. I'm not saying that they perpetuate. I mean, I will say they perpetuate it, but I'm not saying that it's their fault. But for
Right.
whatever reason, the system is feminine, and we can't fight that, and we cannot deny it. We have to destroy it. We have to. We really need to really understand why our public education system is the way it is. We really need to understand why we have decided to cede so much of our power to other people.
Right.
and
Yeah.
and once we understand that, then we can set about changing it, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And
No,
and I
I'm with you. That's where
yeah
I'm coming from. So maybe initially on this topic, it seems like we're coming from different positions, but I think at the end of the day, we really have the same position. Maybe looking at it slightly different angles. Not that
yeah
you and I need to agree, but the point is, if we're going after truth, right? If we're going after being grounded based in reality, it's about the truths that are cool and the truths that fucking suck. It is what it is. But if we want to deny it and live in delusion, then we're going to look like some of these people.
yeah absolutely. I mean,
Hi, toxic.
you have to live in reality.
Right. Well, here's the thing. You don't have to, but eventually reality going to slap you. Right?
Yeah,
Eventually the drugs wear off, the delusion wears off
right.
eventually. Right? So it would behoove us in general to live in reality more so than not. To be less drugged up than more drugged up. That's how I would put it.
Yeah, no, that's pretty accurate.
Toxic trait.
So,
And then it makes you look toxic in the end because you did nothing.
but hold on. Imagine if you get to the right person, then it won't be toxic.
Yeah, I
You
guess
give in to the
so.
wrong person.
Yes, I
So-
did.
So giving isn't really bad. It's your choice of giving was a bad.
My choice of giving
Yes.
is my toxic trait.
There you
Thank
go.
you for rectifying that for me.
You give it to the wrong person. You chose the wrong guys. Maybe the roadmen that are nice to you want to finesse you. Come on, man.
Why can none of these Americans do an English accent?
Can you do an American accent?
We can all do an American accent.
Oh, good.
Do you fall in love easy?
I wouldn't say easy, but I'm a lover girl. I love love, but I don't fall in love easy.
So, question: how do you choose your men? Because obviously speaking, it hasn't worked out pretty good for you, right?
No, terrible.
Do you choose like roadmen? Do you choose like?
No,
What do you
I
choose?
always choose nice guys. The thing is, they're all lovely people.
So
They're just,
where are they now?
I don't know.
What the fuck? What do you mean? You don't know.
But they're not bad people. They're not mean. They wouldn't cheat. They're respectful.
They wouldn't cheat?
No, no, no,
Hold on. So you never been cheated on before?
no.
How do you know?
Okay. More contradictions out of Fresh in particular, and even her. Just some of the things she's saying don't add up, right? He was a great guy, but 2 minutes ago, yeah, he didn't do anything for me. I did everything for him. All I got was dick. I mean, that's what she said. Not verbatim, but that's essentially
Sure.
what
Yeah.
she said. So contradicting herself. But even him, let's just dissect this a little bit. He keeps saying, you chose him. That's what he's saying to her. Yet, he will expressly say that women choose what men they have sex with. Men choose what women they go into relationships with. So, which is it? Did you choose him and you're putting the accountability on her for what you purport is the male accountability, that the man chose her? And again, I'm just looking at the contradictions, the walking contradiction that he seems to be.
Yeah, no, that's accurate. I think that once again, he really kind of falls back into this script that he's running. It's like he doesn't believe any of this. It's just he's just punching the line out, right? And she's buying it. I mean, she's kind of buying into it. She's like all about it.
Well, apparently, I'm not so sure if she's actually buying into it, but if we're to judge her words and kind of her tone, she's either a really good actress, which wouldn't surprise me, or she's buying it. I mean, at face value, I agree with you. I'm just saying he's making all these judgments and the interjections of like, oh, I really like her, right? He said that like 5 minutes into this date, I really like her. What kind of discretion is that? You don't know her. You just met her. You're on a show. And I get it, it's a show, but you are leading the audience to believe this show. That's what it is.
Yeah, there's not much more to say about that.
Not to my knowledge, then.
Oh, say that.
Not to my
Say
knowledge
that,
have
say
I
that.
ever been cheated
Okay. You know what I think?
on. What?
You're so genuine and giving, and people take advantage of you.
Is this a therapy session?
I think so, you know?
I think so too. I've learned to realize that in the latter of my life that yeah, I
You know what?
probably.
I think you need some help.
You want to help me?
I charge though.
Oh.
Listen, I came into this for a date. But I'm a therapist, man. Give her therapy for free. Pay me.
Seems like he's ticking all the boxes.
Back in the day, what would happen is the father or the brother or the uncle would help choose the man for the woman.
Really?
So nowadays, it's kind of like how girls feel about a guy like, oh, I feel happy in the moment. But reality speaking, he's not a good partner because he can't provide for you. He's going to cheat on you probably. And obviously speaking, like, maybe he doesn't care at all. He's just using you, so.
Yeah. Look, if we're to judge women, what is she saying so far about her past? In a sense, is I use poor judgment in one fashion of men that I have sex with, or however you want to view that. And I'm always being taken advantage of. Low key, I'm a victim. My therapist told me I'm a victim.
Yeah, and you can really see that where he got to where he wanted to go with his script.
Right.
Right. That the men would choose the boyfriend for the woman. She's not capable of choosing, and
Right.
so now it all makes sense. It came together very nicely. All the stuff that he was kind of throwing out there. So that's, I mean, yeah, nice script. Good.
Good script, good acting.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
honestly, she's too nice. The problem is that like when you're too nice like that, guys come into the picture, finesse, and then just like leave your ass. So I could be your dad.
Wow. This just changed the whole dynamic of this day.
So question, are you looking for like a daddy right now?
No.
No?
No.
What are you looking for?
Why do I want a dad?
Well, not dad, but like daddy, like, you know?
I don't know. Is that like an American term? I think Americans might think daddy's something else. I don't know what that means.
It's almost like
I don't want a
a
daddy.
guy that's like,
Not sugar daddy.
not sugar daddy.
No.
More like just like a guy that's like successful, can take care of you, and like tells you what to do.
No.
No. She needs a daddy, bro.
It's getting a little bit weird, I would say.
I mean, they're running out of. They've only booked her for 3 hours. They got to run the script a little faster.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, do you think they're running out of script and now just starting to get authentic, accidentally authentic?
Accidentally authentic? Maybe. Yeah. Let's see what happens. Let's go with it.
Daddy, bro. Literally, because her choice making is terrible. 100%.
Whatever he means, though, I don't want none of that. No, that's like a dictatorship. I want a healthy relationship where I do my duties as a female.
Or what about like a mentor?
I don't want a mentor. I want a nice relationship with a nice, healthy man, and he is masculine and I am feminine.
But let's be honest.
And we blend beautifully together.
What you've been doing in the past hasn't worked for you because
no.
you've been following your own rules, right?
Yeah.
So if a man is helping you, guiding you, mentoring you,
Guiding me, yes. I don't want to be like, oh, guys, everyone, meet my mentor. No.
well, you're not gonna say that. You're gonna say, yo, this man is actually like my man. He takes care of me. He leads me. You know, shit like that.
But then, are we in a relationship? Do we love each other?
Of course.
Well, then it's a relationship, then, isn't it?
There is like relationship, and then there's actually like a relationship. I mean, for example, the guy's actually being a man versus just like sitting there and saying, yo, yeah, that's my girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That one.
Yeah, that one.
That one. Pick that one.
So how do you pick the guy for this one?
I think through my experiences, I have a lot better judgment now. Like I can tell on a first date I can tell by your vibe, I can tell by your energy when you lie, when you're truthful, when you're just saying things. I kind of pick it up pretty fast now.
See, if I was gonna be fucked up, I could run circles around you.
Why?
You know why?
Why?
Because you're too nice.
I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not.
So this may be an unpopular position, but I think she's actually gaming him more than he's gaming her. And part of that is her being more socially intelligent than this kind of idiot, realizing that he's buying into the frame that she is setting. And again, I see this as contradicting what they purport. I mean, what he is a walking, talking, so-called example of.
I think there were a couple of things there that was just really odd. You know, he's talking about he could run game around her.
Right.
I mean, yeah, okay.
That's full-fledged arrogance. I mean, to say that on a date, in a sense, right, that you're promoting to the public, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear that she has some pretty kind of toxic traits just right below the surface. Um,
Right.
and I don't know. She's like, well, I want a healthy relationship. And he offers her a completely unhealthy one. And instead of just saying, okay, you know what? We're not going to see eye to eye. Sorry.
Right.
Appreciate it. I'm out. She just continues to talk to him about it.
Yeah.
And what does that even say?
Yeah, it doesn't say good things about her character, her moral standpoint, her virtues. I mean, I'm perceiving.
Yeah.
It says, I'm a girl boss who can play feminine when I want to,
Yeah.
and make gamey, leading men such as Fresh, virtue signaling, think that they're in control. That's the best game. I don't promote game, but I'm just saying, if you're going to run a game, you don't want the person to see that you're running a game. It's like we talked about earlier. If I can see your funnel, it's not a very good funnel, right? I know that you're eliciting my money or whatever the case, right? It should be natural if we're being real.
I mean, a good argument can be made that, you know, she is seeing the game that he's playing and she's just kind of playing along with it, letting him feel like that he's, kind of in this control seat. And so he thinks that he's telling her what she wants to hear, and she's just kind of playing him like a fish
Yeah,
on the line, like, yeah, that's what you want to hear. That's what you think, but
right.
you're
It's
gonna get the
ironic.
net. Yeah, you're gonna get the net here in a minute. So,
Yeah. No, it's all
yeah.
very ironic.
Not too nice. I'm mean.
Like, for the right guy, you're too nice.
Yes, I am too
And
nice.
they
But
will-
I don't think that's wrong
It is for the wrong person.
for the wrong person. But for the right person, it's a fantastic thing.
But so far, you've proven that you've not chosen the right person, right?
Yeah, who's going to help me then? Not you.
Not me.
Are you going to help me pick my...
Of course.
Well, then this was a pointless date then, wasn't it?
It's gonna be me.
Oh, you're going to pick yourself?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
There you go.
Wonderful. Sorted.
So, when's the first date? Let's say like
this is our first date.
tomorrow. Sorry, second date. Tomorrow,
Yeah, let's do
8
that.
p.m.
Yeah.
Novikov.
Yeah.
There we go.
Sorted.
Again, just kind of ironic. This is all the opposite advice that they give out, just in certain subsection, right? Like, I'm desperate Fresh. I'm a fucking player. But what are you doing? When do you think, woman, the next date should be? And let's make it tomorrow. It's just all very ironic to me.
And she's treating it like a total joke now. Like, she's absolutely not serious at all.
Right. Now, as Tiki Tac said, she's the one in control of the situation, which I just think is very interesting because I believe he thinks he's in control. Oh, I got her in the frame. I'm gaming her, bruh. And really, I think to people looking on like ourselves, right, that are like, look, what's the truth of this bullshit that we're watching? We can dissect it fairly easily, right? This isn't rocket science, and yet it's getting over so many people's heads, including the very male Fresh, the self-proclaimed player.
Yeah, he's the man himself, all right.
Sorted.
Done.
Okay.
Easy.
See you then.
See you then. Second date in the bag. Came into the UK with pure swag. Simple.
Oh, looks like we're going out again.
So I first walked in. Think of one word to describe me. Just one word. I don't know what's taking so long, but she's taking forever to answer the question. What's happening here? Black.
Calming. You have very nice nature.
Thank you. And for you, I would say one word to describe you. Attractive.
When you first walked in.
Yeah.
Okay. This is such a lovely conversation. It is so refreshing.
Yeah.
You're a man though.
Hell yeah.
If that was me now, how would you feel?
Excuse me?
If that was me,
You would do what?
fart.
You?
If I was to do that, yeah.
No, you wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no. Literally, bro, if my chick farts around me, that's a dude.
So you're happy to do it around your partner, but you wouldn't want your woman to do it around you?
Ladies don't fart.
You know how they say, like, oh, when you get so comfortable, then a woman should fart around her partner. Like, that just means that you guys love each other. Do you think that's true?
Farting and burping in front of your partner as a woman, it's a turn off, you know?
Too right.
It's like if your man's like crying in front of you, it's a turn off.
No, that's completely different. Crying's not that bad.
It's similar.
These men think that men shouldn't show emotion. I think that's very toxic.
So, again, to both of the points we brought up earlier, just incidentally, right? You're talking about crying in front of whatever. This is, again, why I would say generally taking what women say. She may think that she believes that. She may believe she believes that. And in reality, doesn't want
No
it.
way. Absolutely no way.
So,
Absolutely.
Lewis, I don't know what you mean. Clip a dude making 50 a month. I don't know. Maybe there's some viral video. Not familiar. But yeah. So anyways, look like there's a bit more here. So I'm gonna say we'll play a few more minutes, do a little back and forth, and then I'm gonna have to hop off here in about 15. So just a pre-warning.
Yep.
No, that's been good.
You want your man to cry in front of you? Your rock, your foundation to cry in front of you? Like,
I wouldn't want
didn't
him
get my job
watching
today.
like Marley and me saying, oh my God, the dog's died and sobbing on my shoulder. I'd be like, oh, fix up. But if he's like going through something, yes, I want to let him emotionally express himself. There's nothing emasculating about feeling an emotion if you need to feel an emotion. But when you
I
cry,
fart like almost every day.
well, yeah. that's
So I'm
human.
gonna cry every single day.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no. But they're not really the same level, are they? Like,
It was quite similar, but okay.
So this is just a small nuance, but just wording. She said, right, there's nothing wrong with a man feeling. And here's the thing, that's true, right? I mean, we all feel. We're not I don't think like-minded thinkers to ourselves are saying don't feel, stop feeling, don't feel emotional. It's not about that. I think it's more so controlling your own frame, right? Your own emotions and in front of others, which will vary, basis. Is it a child that you're emoting around or your wife or the general public, right? There's different degrees, different contexts. But at the end of the day, you probably don't want any kind of emoting out of men, generally speaking. You just don't. You don't want them getting angry around you. That won't be nice.
Yeah.
You don't want them crying around you. That won't be nice. Now, as far as feeling and doing something with that feeling, motivating, right? It's a sign to us. If we're feeling a way, that is a sign. Something's fucked up, perhaps, right? We need to make a change, perhaps, in our actions, not our feelings, right? We can drug up and kind of dilute these feelings for the moment, right? Live in delusion, right? That is an option. It's not a permanent option, but it's a temporary option.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's not a whole lot more to say about it. It's the way that she's talking about it is really odd. Like, I don't know. It's almost it just really feels like she is just not taking any of this serious anymore.
Yeah.
Right?
And I don't
She's
blame her in that way.
checked out.
I mean, yeah.
She's just kind of like, yeah, okay, this is dumb, right?
So Lewis mentioned Fresh was on one of those business shows back in the day. He got laughed out of the room because he was making 50 a month and wanted to do entrepreneur mentorship. I do recall, damn, I can't remember who it was, but somebody in real estate or one of these money men, maybe Grant Cardone. I could be wrong on that, but I think he played some clip of him on there. And look, in all fairness to Fresh, I mean, just in the context of this, look, we've all made mistakes. We've all been delusional. I can start a business with $50. And, the truth is maybe you can. Some types of businesses are not resource intensive. But, with that said, we're all imperfect. Maybe I'm being generous. Ticky-tack. I think she is checked out as well. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame her. I'll put it like that.
But it really still feels like he is actually like taking this seriously. That's the thing, is that he
Yeah,
thinks
yeah,
he's still running the game. She's like, "You're so full of crap. I'm just going to sit here and just say random crap and see what you agree to."
right. Yeah,
And
it seemed kind of adolescent approach. Again, words and actions don't seem to align with him in a lot of different ways.
yeah, absolutely.
You're the rock. You're the man. You're the foundation. If you're crying and weak, how's she gonna respect you?
I can't take him serious.
Damn.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yes. Good answer. Why?
My parents gave me life, and that was their choice. That was my choice to make for myself and my family what I want to do. So regardless, my mom's taken care of. She's retired, so I pay for everything, so she's good.
I would like it though if you got on with my parents and there was a great relationship.
Parents love me,
Oh,
Do they?
and
I
dogs
can
too.
imagine, actually.
Dogs too.
They say dogs and babies can sense when someone's got
my bad.
pure energy. That's why.
You have dogs?
No, I don't like animals really.
What?
No.
Where's the camera? Where's the camera? I'm a dog. Just saying.
Woof woof.
Woof woof.
I just don't want one.
That's weird, man.
Why do you have dogs?
I have one dog.
Why is it weird that I don't have a dog?
You don't like animals.
I like animals.
You didn't say
I
that.
like to say hi, and I don't want them in my house. Do you know what it is? I just don't like fur.
All right, look, so I think this is a good time to wrap it up for now. My earbuds
Yeah.
fine
Yeah,
anyways.
they kinda-
Yeah, and
Kinda
it's
phoning it in now.
yeah, it's going to more of the same. I think we did a pretty good breakdown though. If you want to stay on for a couple seconds after I put this up here. But thank you for coming on Unreasonable Men, aka Grid One. No, it was a good talk. Look, I seen you around, saw some of your videos, and you're a smart man, and thought we'd have a good conversation. I'd say mission accomplished.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It was great. It's always a little iffy, when you come on to somebody's channel and you've really not even communicated other than, a couple of private messages or DMs or whatever. There's just nothing, and that was cool, man. It works out pretty good, and even on the things that we're kind of like not 100% aligned on, it's fine. Like I just keep going back to, it's a shame that currently people that should be aligned with each other are fighting over small things. Like
Absolutely. Divide,
somebody-
division.
yeah, somebody was talking about how a lot of the what I call them are the joy Christians. Other people have other names for them, but they don't like Andrew because he smokes and he curses and he I don't know what else he does that they don't like, but they don't
He's
like him.
imperfect. We all are.
Yeah, exactly. We're all imperfect, but that's okay. That he should. First of all, smoking's not a sin. There's nowhere in the Bible says smoking is a sin. I don't like it. I've never done it. If that's your deal, man, go for it.
Yeah.
I don't have anything more against somebody who smokes than a guy that has a bourbon at the end of the day or has a 6-pack on the weekend.
We all do drugs of some kind. Maybe not in the literal sense, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's everybody has their thing. You are not to judge. I do not sit in judgment of anyone. I will tell you how I feel about something. I will tell you that I think it's stupid, but I'm not judging you. That's somebody else's job. And it's really sad that there are people out there all throughout our space that just, for whatever reason, I think a lot of it's that people feel threatened, right? Like, for example, I don't feel threatened by anybody. I can be friends with anybody. What you do is not going to hurt my feelings. You could put out a video tomorrow about something I completely disagree with. Okay, it's cool, man. That's your deal. That's fine. But we agree on enough, right? Then again, I could put out a video next week about attacking the entire manosphere, about supporting the bullcrap red pill movement and how We ought to just torch that to the ground, and that could anger everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that's fine. Be mad about it, but understand that we're all still aligned. We all want the same thing. We all want a better, more traditional, more
I would say loving, like in the sense, I don't mean
loving.
being
Yes,
in love,
thank
but
you.
loving in terms
Yeah,
of
we
we care
want a
about
more.
ourselves, each other, family, life. We
Yeah,
value life, right?
yeah. That's great, man.
We're
We
not just
want
flushing babies down the toilet because they're
to.
a
Yeah,
danger to the mother, right? What was the one example I was in a chat? It was self-defense. Women have the right to self-defense against the baby in the womb. I was blown away by that argument.
right. But the child doesn't have any self defense against the mother that's trying to kill him.
Right, yeah, the irony. Yeah,
Yeah,
so look,
and
let's get on again. Not to cut you off, but I do got
yeah,
to
no,
go in a
no,
minute. So let's get on
yeah,
again. But
go ahead.
stay on for 1 minute. I'm going to do an exit video, and then
Yeah,
then we'll talk for a minute. So hey,
sounds
everyone,
great.
thank you for joining in. It's been good times. Yeah, we'll see you next time.